Yo, everyone, and welcome to an I'm fanfic for you. We're back with a new story of what if Issei was betrayed and got the Infinity Stones. But before we start, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more awesome contents. Now, let's start to part 1. We found ourselves in the battle Thanos vs Thor, who charged the Stormbreaker to its maximum power and launched it with all his strength towards Thanos. In response, he charged power with the Infinity Gauntlet and launched it towards the attack directed towards him, but he saw how the Stormbreaker was easily able to approach him until it hit him. Thanos, upon receiving the attack on his head, immediately died and making a big explosion that left no trace of him or the Infinity Gauntlet. Thor, surprised, did not know how to react. There was only something in his mind: escape or died, where that curiosity stayed with him, since the gems made his soul go to another dimension where they would find a reincarnation worthy of him. We found ourselves in the Draconic Deus (DXD) world, where everything for our favorite red dragon was very happy, since after defeating Rizevim and the great apocalypse Trihexa, he was declared as hero of the factions. He was very happy that life was peaceful. The boy was ending to shower to go to school. Until right in front of him the magic circle of the Grimoire appeared and the queen of Surzich named Grafia appeared. She had a sad face when she saw the brunette, but continued to tell him that the faction leaders wanted to see him immediately. Issei was confused by the look that Grafia addressed to him out of pity or sadness, but he decided to ignore it and then ask why they wanted to see him. Grafia only answered that she didn't know the reason, but in her mind she knew that she would regret not telling her the real reason. "Very well, let's go," said the brown, until before they left he was hugged tightly by Grafia, who had tears threatening to come out of her beautiful eyes. He is alone, told him that she will always be with him with great appreciation. This surprised the brunette. He didn't know why those sudden words were coming, but something gave him a bad feeling, and he asked why he said it while Grafia looked down. "I can't say it." Issei would say it, compressing his great pain, while they were teleported in front of the mansion. "Grimoire ready?" Issei asked. Grafia asked with fear. "Always ready," the brunette answered, he said with some nervousness, to enter the meeting room, while Grafia stayed behind with a worried look. Upon entering he saw the Grimoire, the leaders, fathers of the Grimoire house, Leviathan, Phoenix among others, and he continued to greet them with his usual smile. "Good morning Surziches, Azazel, Shemhazai, Michael, Gabriel, Odin, Yasaka, Seraphil Sama, Falbium Asmodeus, Ajuka." While everyone sent a cold look to the boy, who only thought they were trying to scare him, but what he heard left him in shock. "Hi to Issei, you are accused of treason and murder crimes, and you will be sentenced to death in addition to being tortured before the sentence." When the brunette heard that, he became paralyzed and then reacted and answered, "I have not murdered anyone, nor have I committed crimes." "Scissors. Shut up, you fucking liar," he said angrily, while making a hologram appear. Issei, seeing how the Devil King answered him, was surprised since he had never spoken to him that way, but something he didn't expect. He saw how a blue-haired boy entered, while he had a macabre smile that no one around him saw. But something happened that he never imagined. He saw how his girls hugged and kissed the blue-haired boy while they mentioned his name, Sato. The enraged brunette goes against Sato but was intercepted by an attack from the Lucifer, something that surprised the brunette and he did not want to believe. While he got up from the ground he saw the hologram and he was seen killing people without mercy while he smiled with satisfaction, but when he saw, well, those people were angels, fallen angels, demons, UKs and Asgardians, which made the leaders angry, asking for punishment and death to the one who once saved them, the Trihexa and Rizevim funds among other threats. The brunette only had a sad face when he saw how they treated him, but he quickly reacted and told them that he would never do something like that, but he received an arrow of light from Azazel, who told him to shut up, "You damned lying son of a bitch, now suffer," as he kicked the brunette towards Riaz, who with a cold look approached to say, "Riaz, please believe me. I never did that," but he received a slap from Riaz, who looked at him with great coldness. "Shut up. I can't believe I fell in love with a scum like you, but the worst of a damn murderer. I should have let you die, but now I will take out what belongs to me," while she extracted the 8 pieces of Issei's pawn, while she screamed loudly and in great pain. But the brunette, he couldn't believe what was happening. He thought he was dreaming, but the sad reality wasn't him. He was crying. The girl who once swore to love him for eternity was throwing him away like garbage for another, and the worst thing is that not only was he Riaz, but also those girls that he swore to protect and love were just a toy and then thrown in the trash. The brunette only hopes that that was a nightmare. When Riaz took out the pawn pieces from the brunette, all the leaders charged power and threw it at him. You could see a brunette in a deplorable state, but it didn't end there. Those who called themselves his friends and lovers also went to attack him, while he Brown did nothing to defend himself until they imprisoned him and tortured him for a month. But that Sato guy came in and he finished beating him up until one day the faction leaders, along with all his former friends and ex-loves, decided to end his life. This made Grifey furious, but she came up with a plan for the boy to escape. Issei's mind. So everything I did for them was worthless, but a stranger arrives bringing them fake videos where I am apparently murdering, and they better believe in that scum than me saving them several times from powerful enemies that threaten peace. Damn sons of their motherfuckers, how dare they be so ungrateful. Greg. Partner, I know this is very difficult, but there is always a salvation. Even if you think everything is lost, I will always be with you no matter the situation. You are like a son to me, you are not alone. Issei. Thank you, Greg. Well, he was starting to cry, at least if he had someone supporting him. Greg. But this is not your time but rather your new beginning. Issei. What do you mean by new beginning? I would say confused. Greg. Gremory Queen Graphia contacted me and gave me an excellent plan for our escape. Issei. She was surprised by what Greg said. Graphia 1E-san has an escape plan, tell me what is it? Greg. Well, you see, the moment the factions give you the final attack, Graphia and I will create a magic circle so that you can escape at a fast speed, but Graphia will do all that without anyone suspecting her, and she will only wait for the moment to leave the supernatural. All I can tell you, but you follow me. The last thing happened. I would say it with a slight smile. Issei. Thank you, Greg, and also to Graphia 1E-san for helping me, he said it while crying. Time skip. Now we find the boy in the lowest prisons of the underworld on the ground in the middle of all the factions. While Sato watched everything with satisfaction since his plans were going successfully. We just had to end the life of the Sekirute and he would rule over the other factions. So everyone around the boy began to gather a large amount of magic and then threw it mercilessly at the chestnut tree, who only smiled and disappeared from the place. The leaders and those who called themselves their friends only had a face of satisfaction at no longer feeling the energy of who was once their hero friend love, so they left the place, making a serious mistake in the future. The boy was seen in the dimensional gap on board of death, but when he closed his eyes, he could see a completely blank place. While in front of him, he saw a muscular purple man with golden armor that he had never seen, with a strange glove. In his left hand, with about 6 glowing gems of different colors: purple, gem of power; blue, gem of space; red, gem of reality; orange, gem of the soul; green, time; and finally yellow, mind, that gave a big shine, and the man with a big confident smile reflected. This one told him, finally you arrived, Brad. Issei. When he felt recovered, he was surprised but quickly put himself on guard and asked, who are you? And what do you want from me? You have great courage to stand up to me, but not enough to stand up to those who call themselves your family, and especially those girls who swore to love you, or am I wrong? Hi, do Issei. The man said it with a confident smile. Issei. You haven't answered my questions, and above all, how do you know my name, and above all what happened to me? Said. I am the one who will put perfect balance in the universe. They call me Thanos, and I have an interesting proposal for you, child. Well, he fisted his left hand right in front of him and had that same confident smile. Issei was surprised by Thanos' words to him. Issei. Proposal, and what is it about? The brunette asked seriously at the same time with curiosity. Thanos. As you see, kid, life needs a balance, and if that balance is not controlled, life will end at the time you least expect, so I did myself the favor of creating that balance by eliminating half of each species from different planets, but it was very difficult. So I decided to take the gauntlet along with the infinity gems. Which are 6 in total. And with just a snap of my fingers, half of the universe would disappear without pain, but when I got the last gem, it didn't go very well and I ended up dead. But the gems took me to a dimension totally different from mine. And so I decided to see who will be my successor. And then I saw you and I chose you. Since I see you are worthy of carrying the gems of infinity, since from the bottom of your heart, I see that you want revenge for what they did to you, and that you want to save someone who was always by your side, and who couldn't do anything to save you. Well, what do you say? Do you agree to be my successor, or do you want to be locked up forever in the gem of the soul? He said it with the same confident smile of hers. Issei. Thoughtful. What, to be locked in the soul gem forever? He said it scared. So a laugh was heard coming from Thanos when he already knew what the boy's response was going to be. Very well, I accept your proposal, Thanos. He said it decidedly. Thanos could only make his smile bigger. But with one condition, a serious Issei said it. Thanos. And what condition is it that you have in mind? Hi, do Issei. Issei. May nothing happen to my loved ones who trusted me after we wipe out half the universe. Thanos. Very well thought out, kid, so I accept your condition, and we will start with a 10-year training, and from there another 90. In which you will gain experiences in battles and conquering planets. Annihilating half of their total population. In total it will be 100 years, and only 50 or less will pass through here. Issei. I suppose we will go to a different dimension than this one, while here 100 years pass, and at least 50 will pass. Thanos. You are smart, and so it will actually happen that you are ready, that you are going to suffer these 10 years of training like never before. Issei. I'm always ready for anything. he said while he showed his confident smile towards himself. "THANOS. Very well, we will start immediately." Balsam black-blue clouds appeared behind him and then absorbed the boy and THANOS while a gem shined blue in the gauntlet. "Very well, brat, let's start the training." While they appeared in a totally empty place without end. Issei. "What is this place?" Teased him a little surprised. "THANOS. We are in a special dimension, since as you can see it is a place outside the life of any being, and here we can train at ease without being bothered by anyone. But before starting, I suppose you want to see what my life was like in the past." Issei. "Yes, if it is not too much trouble." THANOS. "Well then." The Mind Stone shined and showed THANOS' entire life. His past, in which he gave a solution to the beings of his planet to save themselves from extinction, but they would take him as crazy, and in the end what the great Titan predicted happened, how he got each Infinity Stone and what he had to sacrifice to obtain them. An important case for him was his daughter Gamora. The boy was surprised by the power of the gems. He never thought that there would be stones that would make them capable of having that great power. He saw every detail of the battles and how he defeated the Avengers. About how he killed Vision to get the Mind Stone, and how Thor killed him with the Stormbreaker, and how he ended up here. At that point, everything returned to normal, seeing the boy in shock who didn't know how to react to seeing THANOS' life. Issei. Little by little he came out of shock. Wow, I had never seen something so surprising, but sad to see that THANOS was still suffering for having killed his daughter Gamora. "Very well, we started with the training." THANOS smiled and said. "Well, let's get started." In the 10 years, Issei managed to increase his power, far surpassing Trihexa, Great Red, and Office. Because sadly, Drake died, and in the end, he would leave him part of his power and abilities that made this possible. In 5 years, the brunette was surprised when he saw how THANOS gave him the gauntlet. At first he refused, but THANOS convinced him to wear it. When he put on the gauntlet, he felt a great power that ran through his entire body and soul. At first it was a pain, so he screamed when he finished obtaining a great power from the 6 gems. He had great happiness and pride, since few were worthy of carrying that great power that few beings in the universe could possess, and in case they did not simply die or were taken to other places in the universe in the case of the space gem. THANOS was glad that Issei was worthy of being his successor, a great pride and happiness that he could not express, he felt in him. Finally, his efforts were beginning to bear fruit. He could only smile in a way that he had never given Gamora, that of a true father of pride, appreciation and happiness. So for the other 5 years he trained with the power of the gems, thus managing to control them to his liking. Although at first he had great difficulty in handling each of the Infinity Gems, it was a power that he never imagined existed, although THANOS told him how to use them, since if they were poorly controlled, it could cause serious damage to space-time, to reality itself. By using the 6 gems at the same time, he realized that if only he were the same loser as before, he would have been died with just 1 gem. Time passed, and little by little, he acquired new skills and improvements. If we talk about mental and physical state, in addition to now having a great level above the dragon gods of his world and the outer gods from the EXE universe. When he realized it, he could believe it, and almost fainted from a heart attack. So time passed until the 10-year limit that THANOS had already counted was over. THANOS. Very good, brat. I am proud that you are my successor and a disciple. Now deign to finish my work, kid. Balsam light tears were present. Apparently without knowing it, he developed feelings of a father towards the boy. Issei. THANOS. Time and reality gave him another great reason in life. In the same case of THANOS, little by little he began to see how his mentor was always with him and always advised him, something that his miserable human parents stopped doing after falling into such a base lie of the demons. Issei was now totally destroyed. He wanted THANOS to see how he fulfilled his dream that he wanted to realize so much. Both THANOS told him gives a father and son hug. THANOS. I will die, but I will live inside the gem soul. During the 10 years of training, THANOS saw the determination of the boy, the anger. Admiring him little by little until something happened that admiration. THANOS now saw Issei as his son, which he was very proud of him. And while with Issei as he passed by of time, he was able to see THANOS as his true father, since he always trusted him apart from giving him advice about life, and thanks to that Issei managed to improve himself, but with only 2 objectives in mind. Destroy the factions and hold the EXD universe alongside the EXE universe. And balance the universe. I should also clarify that Drake died, but is now a complete dragon, because his body was made from part of the flesh of Great Red and the power of Office, but now he had the power of Drake, something that gave him a huge boost for battle. Issei. THANOS. I understand, but is this necessary? He asked crestfallen. THANOS. If necessary, since the gems gave me a time limit to find my successor, in addition to giving me a few more years to train him. So the time has finally arrived, but you will not be alone, as I said. Now I will be always with you. Issei. THANOS. Really, thank you for everything. Thanos. At least I had someone who would truly appreciate me, and I am glad that you're my successor. In the same way, he hugged the boy. And yes, that's how it is now, we will only be one with the universe, while Thanos said his last words. Issei was crying while he felt Thanos' soul going inside the soul stone. His hair changed from brown to purple, and his eyes changed color, they were now light blue, his muscles increased considerably. Now Issei felt sad, but he put it aside and began to recover and then said, "Well, I still have 90 years left, I have time to create my army to conquer the other worlds. And reduce their population by half, and then I will see how to finish off the true traitors, but first things first, I will begin by recruiting powerful beings to help me in my conquest." While showing that same confident smile of the great titan Thanos, while his fist was placed right in front of him. Keep running. But destiny arrives. Or should I say It had been 5 years since the factions had killed Issei. At first they were satisfied, but some were sorry, like Yasaka, Sona, Tsubaki, but one was waiting for him in particular, and knew that he would come for her. If we are talking about Graphia Lucifuge, who decided to divorce the devil King Lucifer and abandon the supernatural. To live in a countryside area far from human and demonic society, where she would wait for the true love of her life, Issei. It didn't go well with Yasaka since she was confused that Issei killed innocent people, but when they were judging him, she saw in the boy's eyes that he was innocent. But she was too late to help the boy, and thanks to this she won the hatred and resentment of her little daughter Kunu, which devastated her. She could not believe it, thanks to her stupidity, she had lost a man who always made her smile and feel happy. Since Kunu always saw him as her father, but for the moment things did not work out well, and she just waits for the miracle of seeing him again, since her heart knows that he will return and solve her problem with Kunu. So as a first step she decided to leave the alliance with the remaining factions, because she knew that something was wrong, and because be careful that something happens to your people. So she knew that she had made a good decision and progress so that in the future everything would be resolved. Sona and her queen Tsubaki knew that they had done something absolutely unforgivable, since she actually loved him, since she saw him fight for his loved ones until he died, and gave everything he had to make those close to him smile. In the same way Tsubaki saw in Issei a great man, and not like the pervert he seemed. She thought Kiba was much better, but what really was a tremendous shit, since he only played with her feelings and went with another, and made her see that a certain brown hair boy was her true love. Sona and Tsubaki had planned to declare their feelings for him, but now they were sorry for not being able to help the boy when he needed it most, and that was something that they would never forgive themselves. They, like Yasaka and Graphia, felt that the love of their lives would return, and she will solve her problems with the supernatural, and they will marry him, and for the moment they decided to leave Kuho and go to Kyoto to live, since they had spoken with Yasaka, and she, seeing in their faces that regret of not helping the chestnut tree, accepted them in her territory. Change of scene. Underworld. Action leaders meeting. Present at the meeting were Scissor. Lucifer brought together the Putagree clan, govern everything supernatural, so the meeting began when Scissor spoke. "I call you to this meeting because after seeing Issei murdered, who was responsible for the deaths of innocent people and was sentenced to death for his actions. Many things have happened, such as the divorce of my wife, and above all, that the Yokai faction decided to leave the alliance, and the disappearance of the Citri inheritance, along with her queen Tsubaki. This surprised everyone since, according to them, the problems should have ended. Azazel. This is strange, but how long has Citri and her queen been inheriting, and especially why did the Yokai faction decide to leave the alliance? Seraphol. I'm worried about my Sutan, please help find my Sutan and Tsubaki-chan." While she was crying. Scissor. "As you will see, Citri and her queen will inherit, they disappeared 8 months ago, and we have not found a trace of them, but also the deaths continue in a mysterious way, since 3,000 deaths have been reported in the last 5 months, and we fear that Sauna Citri and Tsubaki Shinra have been victims, while he had a face between concern, and would be at the same time. Michael. How can this be happening if it is assumed that the deaths were caused by Issei, then there will be another murderer, who would be his ally, or will it be a new enemy? Those questions made everyone think since Issei's death did not provide a solution to the actual murder. Auden. This is very suspicious, but I don't know, something tells me that we did wrong with Issei. We didn't even give her the opportunity to verify or investigate what happened. Maybe in reality she was innocent and we, because of our anger, desperation and blinded by anger, perhaps we made a serious mistake, since I could see the innocence in his face. What Auden said made a lot of sense, everyone was processing it as a serious problem. Scissor. Very good point. Auden had thought about it in the same way, since this started out very strange, and I fear that it was a play by the survivors of the Chaos Brigade. This began to worry the rest of the leaders who had fallen into a trap by the members of the Chaos Brigade and had killed someone who did not deserve it. Everything was silent until a laugh caught everyone's attention. Haha, they are really so stupid, and the person responsible for that laugh and words was none other than Satu. Bremeries. What does this mean, Satu? Well, they could not believe what was said by the one who decided to surrender. The atmosphere among the girls was shocking and scary. Leaders, what does this mean, Satu? Well, they had serious looks. Satu? Haha, well, as you guessed, I am a survivor of the Cows Brigade, and if that is what you think, I deceived you with that video, and creating evidence to later show it to you, who immediately doubted your hero the Sekiyuite, and fulfilled what the Cows Brigade cows could not have. Haidu Issei assassinated, who would be a hindrance to our plans. This greatly impacted everyone present since they had made a serious mistake. Well, the Grimoires grabbed their heads, thinking it was a nightmare, and fell to their knees. Well, they began to cry for having doubted and killed the one who truly loved them and gave everything for them. Now it was too late. Haidu Issei was already dead. The faction leaders were more than furious with Satu, but also with themselves. They doubted that Issei who saved their asses in several situations of extreme danger, to that Issei who always made them smile. Now everyone was paying for their mistake, or perhaps mistake that has no forgiveness, or perhaps who knows. Scissorch. Bastard. How did you dare to do this, and above all, to use us as puppets to kill who I considered my little brother? But now I know that I am an idiot since I doubted Issei, and it is something that I will never forgive myself anymore, that all of us killed him. Michael. It can't be what we did, it's something my father will never forgive us. Gabriel. Horrified. That I had just betrayed the man who had won my heart for that miserable man, apart from having given him my virginity for love, and he only used me the same as the rest. Well, she began to cry like she had never done before, and her wings, without realizing they turned black. The atmosphere was cold, tense and shocked. Azazel. I can't believe how far we've fallen because of that big son of a bitch. I swear that you'll pay for that. He said it furiously. Seraphol. No, it can't be Issei-kun. Forgive me, please let this be just a nightmare. To the wrong man and follow me on, the man who always loved me, but now I think I'm paying. Damn, what did you do to Sona and Tsubaki? Well, she had a furious and murderous face. Satu? I don't know about your sister's whereabouts, but it was a lot of fun playing with you, hahaha. Well, he expressed that evil smile that no one had seen when Haidu Issei was murdered. Haha, but now I want you to get another surprise like that by lighting up and changing shape to one that everyone they knew very well. Well, they exclaimed. Rizevim. Leaders. How can this be possible? Well, the Grimoires, Gabriel, Seraphol, on their knees holding their heads, wanting to know that everything was a lie. Some fainted from shock and impact at the things. Unfortunately, it wasn't a nightmare until they heard Rizevim's maniacal laughter again. Rizevim. Haha, yes, you are really stupid to change your great hero for an enemy who always acted behind your back, but still, all of you. Rather, now I will rule all the factions, and whoever does not like this can die. While laughing like crazy. Auden. Ha, you, and with what power, and above all, do you think we will let you do that? Well, he gave his serious and angry look. Faction leaders. They supported what Auden said as they got into a fighting pose to attack him until. Rizevim. Haha, idiots. Leaders. Maybe you killed. Rizevim. Yes, I murdered Vali Lucifer, hahaha. Well, he volunteered so that his team could escape, but you might wonder how I managed to murder Vali. It was easy. With the death of Sekiyuite, the seal that kept the Trihexa locked up was broken when you killed him with your own hands. So I took advantage of that opportunity to have the Dragon of the Apocalypse under my control again, to later create a sacred gear that contained the power of Trihexa, and we achieved it by becoming its bearer and then taking over the power of the White and Red, but mysteriously the Welsh dragon has not appeared, or its power has not been felt. How that happened? I had to go through Albion and take over that great magnificent power. No, ha. You condemned yourselves, and now that the Sekiyuite is no longer here, my plans will be fulfilled perfectly thanks to you, and what better way to start my mandate now? Everyone was in shock, they couldn't believe it, they were totally sorry for betraying their hero, but now there was no one to stand up to Rizevim, but they couldn't believe that this monster would kill his own grandson Vali Lucifer Morningstar. Azazel was more than furious since he failed two important people, Haidu Issei and the one he saw as a son, Vali Lucifer. The fact that knowing that he had made a serious mistake with one, and not being able to help Vali who saw him grow up, and he wanted too much, it devastated him. Rizevim. Ha, very well, let's start this. While everyone around him had looks of shock, okay, but above all of fear, knowing that his worst enemy had managed to obtain great power. And that day would change for the supernatural world in a way they did not expect. Change of scene. Unknown place. The sad office was seen. The being she loved most with all her heart had been taken away from her, and that made her change and gave reason to her life. She never expected to fall in love with someone like that, but Haidu Issei was the lucky one. But when she found out what had been done to her great love, she burst into anger, wanting to attack the supernatural, but she knew that karma would come sooner or later. In the same way, Lefei and Karuka reacted in the same way, but Offa stopped them by convincing them that the factions would pay for them. Their big mistake, Arthur and Biku couldn't believe how far the factions had fallen, so they decided to leave them. But above all, the loss of a great friend and companion devastated them, but all that remained was to make an alliance with Great Red. But something told everyone that Issei would return and kick the butts of those who doubted him. Change of scene. Human world. Mexico City. Time 4:30 p.m. There was a blue-eyed blonde with a tsundere attitude, but she only showed it with someone in particular, if that someone was Haidu Issei. She loved him and wanted him as her husband in the future. But she knew that Issei was innocent of everything he was accused of. But she couldn't do anything to help her great love. And when she saw that her parents and brothers chose to murder Issei, she ran away and left them. But it devastated her too much, hating her family, and she was cold towards them when they spoke to her. She decided to live in Mexico because she thought it was a very beautiful and very good place to live, hiding her presence and avoiding everyone. Supernatural. She no longer wanted to be involved with those bastards who only used the love of her life for their own benefit, but her heart told her to wait for him to come back for her, so she chose to wait as long as possible for the return of that man. Chestnut, who would be her husband in the future. That great wish would come true for Ravel Phoenix, since someone when they want someone with all their heart and with that true love truly chooses it, so she chose to change the place where she was. Change of scene. Issei. What do you want me to be your master? Surprised while a chain appeared in his hand. Nice to meet you, my name is Ikaros. Without putting any expression on her face. Issei. Ikaros, is also a pleasure to have you since I see potential in you in addition to being an angeloid, but are you willing to help me in my revenge? Since it will be a great war. Ikaros. I am willing to help you now, as you are my master, I will do everything you ask of me. Issei gives a light smile. Very well, I like your determination, so now let's go look for more recruits, although it wouldn't be a bad idea to revive the goddess of death. Elahi, this one said something curious. Ikaros. She just listened without any expression to what Issei said, that he planned to revive the goddess of death. Issei. Very well, later I will resurrect her and having her will be magnificent, but I can't continue wasting time now. Ikaros, let's move on to the next dimension. The pink-haired girl just nods and a glow illuminates them, changing places. Right now, they were on a strange planet where some people live. Beings called Locust, these had different monstrous aspects, carrying weapons that they dismembered in seconds, apart from having some kind of monster dogs who some carried bombs and others attacked melee. When they saw Issei and the Angeloid, they quickly pointed all their weapons at them. Issei, upon realizing that they were going to be attacked, reacted quickly, since the Locust seemed like a valuable element to him. Thanks to the Infinity Gems, he was able to communicate and recruit them for his army, promising to give them a good place to live. Ikaros. She only went to greet the Locust who welcomed her. Issei was happy every time his army increased, but it was not going to stop there. He had in mind an attack never seen before, and that next time he would use against the DXD world, but it is just a secret that will soon be revealed. Issei. Very good, Ikaros. Locust, we have to go in search of new recruits for the great army. Ikaros, as always, very good, master. Locust, let's go. At that point they were enlightened and appeared in a large spaceship, where for the time being they would stay there until the army was completed. But Issei, he was sitting in his throne as king of the universe, and at his side Ikaros, who only stared at her master until she spoke to him. Issei. Ikaros, we will go to a new dimension. We may be there for a year or a little more, but it won't be more than 2 years since I just saw something interesting in the future, using my time stone. While giving that smile so characteristic of Thanos. Ikaros. Very well, master, I will gladly go with you. Issei. Very good, but before we leave I will put someone in charge of this ship, since we will not return for a long time. So the gauntlet gives a great shine, and a dimensional crack began to form. While inside it, there was a color between green and black. From there a female figure began to leave that dimension. Issei. You are finally free again, my dear Hela said it while hugging her. Hela. Just listening to her purple hair love made her so happy, and she reciprocated her hug. Don't you think it took you some time, Anada? Issei. Forgive me, the truth is I had some setbacks, but as you will see I need you to take command of this ship and my army, while I will travel to other dimensions to recruit strong people. Hela. Wow, that idea sounds interesting, but okay, I'll take charge of this ship, but as always, your darlings are the Locust, right? While she put on a mocking smile. Issei. Well, they remind me of the Chitauri, although the Locust have advanced technology and are better at war, changing the subject if necessary, enslave civilizations, and take all possible resources from them, and if they resist, kill them without mercy. Hela. That's why I like you, you're so cruel. While she smiled at him, Issei. That's why I also like you, my love. So I leave you in charge, I have to go. While He kissed Hela, and Ikaros didn't know why, but she was starting to get jealous. Hela. I hope they find more strong soldiers, but if you find more girls, I will always be the first, she said while puffing out her chest in a sign of anime-type superiority. Issei. Don't worry about that. Hela. Take care while sending him a somewhat blushing smile. Issei. Just gave a smile and disappeared next to Ikaros. Hey, that man made me change a lot. I am grateful that he saved me with a warm smile, but now I have to collect minerals for the ship. The attack on the DXD world will be big, and above all, I want to see Asgard fall and prostrate before me, she said now with her signature evil smile. Well, with Issei and Ikaros, they had appeared in a very foggy pantheon with a beautiful, completely clear night, with a very bright and large sister moon. Ikaros. Master, someone is sitting in that grave. Issei. What, someone in this place at night falls if he likes to take risks, but anyway he can help us about where we are, but it also seems suspicious to me. It seems that this guy has something that can benefit us in the future. It would be better to go. Ikaros. Yes, master. And they headed towards where that guy was until they got close enough. When the guy saw them, he stopped drinking his canned drink and sent them a serious look since he thought they were the murderers of his neighborhood. But it seemed strange to him that one of them had a strange golden armor and looked very muscular and had a pink-haired girl who at first glance, she was wearing a white suit with a skirt of the same color, but still she could see those great attributes of a god. But this one has emerald eyes and a look without expression. Issei. What are you doing here so late at night? He said it with that usual confident smile. Who are you and what do you want from me? Are you the serial killer? He said, getting into a fighting pose. Issei. I am, the beginning and the end, or should I say the great titan Thanos, and he slowly brought his two hands to his helmet and took it off, showing a purple-haired with blue eyes and answering your other question. I'm not that one. Murdered just arrived in this dimension. I don't know this whole place, so it's better to remove that pose, since I didn't come to fight. Was the guy so confused? Thanos another dimension, so what have you come for? Tell me. Issei. I can't tell you that, so it's better not to give me your name, he said in a calm way. Something told him to trust Issei, yet he had nothing to lose. He is a zombie so he cannot die, so he quickly gave him his name. My name is Ayumu Okawa, and I am a zombie. Issei. Nice to meet you Okawa, you're seriously a zombie. I didn't expect it. But suddenly a fight began to be heard meters away from them because they only turned their heads a little, and they could see that the tombstones were cut and boom, a large explosion of smoke occurred, and they saw a girl coming out of the house from above. Smokescreen with a pink dress along with white leggings, but they could see her panties that were basically white and pink, while a black bow on her neck. She is a brunette with eyes of a somewhat strong blue color, but they were surprised to see that he had a chainsaw, and it said hurry and die. She was going straight at them, so Issei quickly carried Ikaros in a bridal manner and stood aside while Ayumu had to dodge the attack. XD, the impact made another large smokescreen. Only Issei and Ikaros watched attentively and amusedly by the purple-haired. Issei and Ayumu. A cosplayer. They said it without being able to believe it. They only saw how the girl tried to get the chainsaw out of her, which was buried in the ground, and apparently she got stuck. Ayumu. You are the serial killer, exclaimed while pointing at her in an accusatory manner. Girl. Hey. What are you saying? She said it in an annoying way. You're in the way. Get out of my way. She exclaimed this in the same annoying way. At that, a strange creature in the shape of a bear pierced him with its claws. Issei. When he saw this he was going to do something, but he remembered that he had told him that he was a zombie, so he let it go. Kumachi. She exclaimed the girl to stop suddenly and prepare for an attack. Ayumu. What is this thing? She questioned this while he watched as he suffered from pain. Girl. Damn, I'm losing points, she exclaimed without losing that annoying sense again. Hey, I'll defeat him, so just rest in peace, she said to the boy who was in the clutches of that creature. Ayumu. That's assuming too much. This one exclaimed. Issei. He was just surprised since they had some strange but interesting powers, and he knew that they were not the only ones, so he just gave a smile. Girl. Don't talk. Your injuries are serious, surrender. She exclaimed. Ayumu. I give up on you. He said this with a comically irritated face. XD. The girl just turned on her chainsaw again, and in its cutting part right in the middle of it, Harina's name appeared with a pink glow. Mistleton, magical power to the maximum. The brunette exclaimed, and a great power came out of her as a large pink glow appeared. Issei and Ikaros. They were only analyzing the battle since it could be of great help in the future. The creature showed that it was upset. So now the chestnuts exclaim, here we go. Final move. Mistleton kick. She exclaimed this for the last time and made a big jump while she fell spinning in a good way, and then gave the cut to the creature who, scared, raised its arms with Ayumu still in its claws, receiving the cut from the chainsaw first. Ayumu Issei Ikaros. That's not a kick, they claimed it in a comical way. At the end of that, he looked at poor Ayumu XD and then went to the head of the creature who was suffering from pain, and when he finished, he disappeared in the form of small lights. Sacrifices are necessary in battle, said the brunette now in a happy way. What do I know it can do to him? Ayumu. Until now, I haven't been able to accept anything you've said this dissatisfied man comically. Haruna. Oh. Why aren't you dead? She questioned surprised. Ayumu. It's because I'm a zombie, he said simply. Haruna. Aren't you human? She questioned seriously. Ayumu. For some reason, but I still have the feelings of one, he said with the same simplicity. Issei and Ikaros were now beginning to understand the subject of the zombie. Now they also wanted information about the chestnut girl, since her powers are really very interesting. Haruna. Disgusting, he exclaimed as he stared wide-eyed at Ayumu. Ayumu. Have some respect for death. So, what are you supposed to be? He questioned the brunette. Haruna. Well, proudly saying I am a prodigious Masu Shoujo of Viri. Haruna-chan. He finished this one with the same pride as her. What happened before was a Class B Megalokamaki. My grade depended on him, at least he understands that. Ayumu. I squint, I don't understand a single thing. While with Issei he went for the other half of Ayumu, but he paid close attention to what the aforementioned Haruna said now about the creatures called Megalos, and that the one he saw was Class B. So there are Megalos stronger than that, Haruna-chan, the purple-haired man asked. Haruna. He turned around and with a serious look asked, and who are you? And she who accompanies you. As I told you, Ayumu, I am the inevitable, the great Titan Thanos said this proudly. And I am Ikaros, an angeloid and at the service of my master Thanos, said this in an expressionless manner, but with appreciation for the purple-haired man. Haruna. Great Titan Thanos, Ikaros and angeloid, what's happening here? He questioned in a confused manner. Issei. Here is not a good place to explain everything to you. Ayumu. If you want, I can offer you to stay and live at my house for a while, and you can explain everything to us there. Issei. Seriously, well, we don't want to be a bother, he said while scratching the back of his neck. Ayumu. Don't worry, just make sure everything is clean and attend school with me. Issei. School, that sucks but can be done well, he accepted while putting on a smile. Haruna. I will try to erase your memory while heading to Ayumu. Issei. Wait, what are you doing? She did not say it out of concern for the boy's memory, but because something unexpected for her was going to happen. The brunette ignored him and leaned on tiptoe while she had her hand extended to the albino. Ayumu. Wait, what is that? He questioned this in a surprised manner. Haruna. A pink sphere came out of her outstretched hand, but surprise, her clothes disappeared. Ayumu. Ah, wait a moment while he closed his eyes and opened them in surprise. Issei. This is what was going to happen while his eyes were covered by Ikaros, and I saved him from a good mother, haha xd. Haruna. Hey. My magic doesn't work, she said, surprised but calm. What's happening? She questioned in the same calm manner, until she looked at herself and with a surprised face when she saw that she was naked and her face turned red, she gave a small scream, and then stood up and covered her breasts with her hands, while she kicked Ayumu. Do not look. Give it back to me. My magic. You better do it quickly. Immediately. Yeah. She exclaimed this in a comically annoying way and kept kicking poor Ayumu XD. Aren't you a normal human? She questioned this upset while she covered her private part and her small breasts. Issei. So they also use magic, I see. Haruna turned to look at him, annoyed, and was also going to give him her mother's advice, but she saw that Ikaros was covering her eyes, and she relaxed, but she returned her gaze to the albino. Ayumu. Like I already said, I'm a zombie, this one said with bruises on his face. This one, can you hand me my lower half? Asked the chestnut for a favor. Haruna. The bottom half. Pervert, she exclaimed as she took a step away from the albino. Ayumu. You're the pervert. Ikaros gives some clothes to Haruna-chan, while I give the bottom half of hers to Ayumu, Issei said. Ikaros, yes master, and took out a card where clothes mysteriously appeared, surprising Haruna and Ayumu, so Ikaros caught the clothes and gave it to Haruna, while Issei went to Ayumu and gave her bottom part, seeing how her body was attached again for being a zombie. These were observed by someone behind a tomb, but it would not be a problem for Issei. Ayumu. Well, let's go to my house and there you will explain everything to us in detail. Issei. Okay, come on Ikaros. Well, I understood her right arm, and the aforementioned only hugs that arm, but there was something strange. She gave a smile. Scene change. Ayumu Akawa's house. Same night. They were all gathered at the table to eat, while the tension between Ayumu and Haruna was somewhat heavy, since when the albino looked at the brunette, she only turned her head in annoyance. But there was another albino with a strange armor that reached up to her head with purple bows on each side. Issei and Ikaros only felt uncomfortable because of the way these guys were. But Issei had noticed that the albino sealed her true power in some way, and he wondered why. But that question would be answered in the not-so-distant future. Ayumu tried to break the awkward silence, but Haruna looked at him with more annoyance, and he just got a little scared XD, and then asked in a kind way, "Why do you use magic?" Haruna. Masu Shoujo. Ayumu. "And why, Amasu Shoujo, has she come to my house?" she asked the brunette, looking at her with some annoyance. Haruna. "Suddenly I lost my magical powers, you don't understand anything," she said with a pout. Ayumu. "I didn't know I had such hidden powers," he said, putting his hand on his forehead. The albino was just calmly drinking her tea while she looked at them, at the same time she looked askance at Issei and Ikaros, since she had also felt a great power in them, they had it suppressed, and this only caught her attention, and she worried about what their true power was, although since she had a large golden armor. The purple-haired man only removed his helmet to introduce himself, and has not put it back on in the meantime. "Haruna. Take responsibility," she exclaimed in annoyance as she pointed at Ayumu. "Ayumu. What do you expect me to do?" The reproach returned. Haruna stood up and faced the albino. "I don't like him at all, but I'm going to stay here until the problem is resolved." Ayumu. "I'm not interested as long as you don't bother the neighbors," he said simply. Haruna. "Of course. Just make sure there's plenty of food and treats," she exclaimed again. Issei. He didn't know how to react now the brunette Masu Shoujo was going to live with him, he still didn't care, but the fact that she didn't do something to help around the house bothered him, he had no respect for other people's things or lives. Ikaros only hugged the purple-haired man by the neck, and he just let himself be hugged and reciprocated. Haruna continued with her dialogue, "And then get me a futon." "Ayumu. You," he said something annoying. Haruna pointed to the albino and questioned. "Who is this person?" Issei. He got more upset by the lack of respect from the brunette, so he was going to say something to her, but he was stopped by an Ikaros who was trying to calm him down between her breasts, and he, having his previous fetishes, only took advantage of the bug. Issei. "Girl, be more respectful, you are not in your house to question," that's what the purple-haired man said in a calm way, but that brunette only stressed him out. Haruna. "Sorry," she turned to face the purple-haired man who was looking at her without giving it importance. Ayumu to break the tension answered the question, "She is a necromancer of the underworld. Euclid Helsed-san." Upon hearing that it comes from the underworld, Issei was surprised since almost all dimensions always have one, so he was already beginning to take it as a habit, but he was left with a doubt. "Necromancer? What's that?" she mentally questioned herself. Haruna. "Ah, I see," he said it simply and giving a light sigh. Ayumu. He looked at Haruna who grabbed a cookie, but couldn't believe it, "Just I see." Haruna. "Oh yes, hey, you said it," looking at the albino. "This only answer is a Kawa Ayumu with his face that would engrave it in your big head XD. Haruna. "Lend me your phone." Ayumu. "Hi," and she put it on the ground for him to grab. Haruna just touched the phone as if it were some strange thing. Issei Ikaros Ayumu. They only had a drop of an I'm-type sweat at the brunette's naivety. Haruna. "What is this magical artifact?" She said it while she was looking at the phone, which had advanced technology and which for her was something strange. Issei Ikaros Ayumu. Only nervously they answered, "It's a phone." Haruna. "Hey. Ayumu. Are there no cell phones in your magical land?" He questioned this one with her typical zombie face. Haruna. "Don't be an idiot." She exclaimed this, Viri's phones are things like. While she put a hand on her ear showing that they put on something to listen and the other to talk, say. She said the brunette while she gave the example of her XD telephones. Issei Ikaros Ayumu. "We don't understand it at all." Ayumu decided to help Haruna how to use the phone. Haruna. "It's just like a phone," he said. Ayumu. "Didn't I tell you it was a phone?" Issei and Ikaros only had their hands on their foreheads again because of the brunette's naivety. The lights of the streets and houses began to go out, and a strange guy was seen wearing detective clothing with his typical hat, but his eyes glowed red, and he only said, "The presence of a Masu Shoujo has been detected." Issei. He felt the evil presence, but it suddenly disappeared. He didn't care because for him they were just annoying flies. "Hey," Ayumu said to the albino. Ayumu. "What's wrong, THANOS-san?" Issei. "Well, now I will tell you where I come from and my future purpose," while making a serious face. Ayumu. He understood and with the same face he nodded so that the purple-haired man could begin to tell his story. Issei. "Well, where do I start? I know, Ikaros and I are not from this dimension, and we both don't even belong to it, but since I can travel that easily, this goes back about 12 to 15 years in the dimension where I come from. There are 3 fractions. The angels, the fallen angels and the demons who many years ago had a great war where they're the biblical god, the great Satan and a great cadre Iblis. Died on behalf of the fallen, but what caught the most attention was the battle to death between 2 heavenly dragons. the Red Emperor Dragon, and the White Emperor Dragon Albion. All factions were alarmed, thus sealing them in an artifact called Sacred Gears, where for generations these dragons have chosen their bearers, so that I was one of them. And so he told them about Raynor, how he was turned into a demon, Asia, Rhea's engagement with Razor Phoenix, the Excalibur swords, Cacabiel, Loki and the Kehos Brigade, until the betrayal on the part of all that he once called family, and now he only hoped to destroy everything he protected, except his beautiful girls who are waiting for him. How Drake made his sacrifice to save the life of his bearer and great companion, who was more like a son to him. How THANOS appeared to him, giving him a chance to be his reincarnation, and explaining how powerful the Infinity Stones were, his hard training of 10 years, and how THANOS finally reincarnated in him, giving him great power never seen before as he traveled to other dimensions, Icaros, Locust, Hela, and his trip to this last dimension for the moment. Ayumu Herna. They didn't know how to react, but Yu believed him since he could feel great power from the purple-haired man and the pink-haired girl. Herna. How can I believe everything you're telling me is true? Ayumu. I say the same thing as Haruna, how can we believe you? She questioned the serious purple-haired boy. You. He was just looking very carefully since he was curious about the purple-haired man's power. I see, well, I will show you my infinity gems. So a golden gauntlet appeared on his right hand with 6 gems of different colors, purple, blue, red, orange, green and finally yellow. But these emanated a great power never felt before, and that called the attention of many species, especially the vampires. Issei. As you can see, this is the Infinity Gauntlet, obviously with the Infinity Gems. With just a snap of my fingers I can destroy half of the universe. This tenses those present. Yu. Now he had a face that he could rarely express if it was fear and terror. The power he felt was something from another world, and the same thing happened with the albino and the brunette who were pale. Icaros. He only looked with an amused expression at the reactions of those present. Issei. Don't worry, I won't do anything to them, I just demonstrated my power so that they would believe me in that. The Infinity Gauntlet disappeared, and those present let out a sigh of relief. Yu wrote something in her notebook and immediately showed it to the purple-haired man. What a power it is to be feared. I already knew that you were only hiding your true power. Hide you, Issei. Issei. Apparently you are a very good analyzer. Ayumu. Impressive. Haruna. Wow, half of the universe disappearing, I didn't know how to react. Issei. Then let's go to sleep, I'm already sleepy. Ayumu. Leaving your impression, tomorrow you and Icaros will enroll in my school. Icaros. Hi. Issei. What a lazy thing to do, but on the bright side it seems that I can meet impressive beings, while putting on the confident smile of THANOS himself. We met on a new day, and Issei didn't like it at all, and Icaros was very happy, and his beloved's reaction made him laugh. Ayumu just looked at them with her typical face with some comical jealousy. Ayumu guided Issei and Icaros to the principal's office so that he could be there as soon as he confirmed which group they were going to be in, and they were in the albino zombie group. When they arrived at the classroom, the teacher saw that there were 2 students that he had never seen before. So he turned to them. Are you offering them anything? I would say this with a tired and heavy face. Issei. Hello, good morning, as you see, we are new to this school, the director asked us to give him these sheets. The teacher analyzed and reviewed the sheets. When he saw that what they said was true, he told them, wait for me here, come in when I order it. Issei Icaros. Hi, they said at the same time. Ayumu just entered his living room and sat down where it was always his habit. Teacher. Attention, this one said, drawing the attention of the students, today we will have 2 new members, so I hope they get along well, please come in and introduce yourself. The purple-haired man entered first. Good morning everyone, my name is Haidu Issei, and I hope we get along well, he said somewhat coldly, but he earned the loving faces of several girls and the men burned with jealousy. Just then Icaros entered and with a big smile said, hello everyone, my name is Haidu Icaros. That surprised the whole class. In that case, a student said. Icaros Issei. Yes, we are a couple and live together. Everyone was shocked, the men were just jealous that Issei had such a beautiful girlfriend with a great body that would melt any man, and on the part of the women they immediately lost their opportunity to conquer Issei, they could only sigh. But Mr. and Miss Haidu, please sit on the benches that are at the end of the first and second column, and they only went to their respective places, earning everyone's gaze and blushing. Ayumu only had a drop of sweat like an IMXD. After a while they saw a completely dried Ayumu, and everyone got scared, but until then he was only scared until classes ended. It was already late and Ayumu had not yet left school, so Icaros and Issei would tell the albino to let him know that they would go ahead to his house. Icaros and Issei entered their classroom to tell Ayumu that they were going ahead, but Issei made a serious face. Something wrong Thanos-san, he questioned a little nervously. Issei. I feel an evil energy very close to us, so you better be on your guard, we don't know what we can deal with. Ayumu made married and stood behind Issei. Ikaros just looked at the door seriously. You could only see someone leaning against the door, but it was very strange until he opened it. Issei only signaled to Ikaros and Ayumu to get behind him. Issei was serious as a suit of armor appeared and his helmet alone appeared in his hands. But the guy looked at Ayumu and said with a perverted face. He wanted you. That had an impact on those present but more on the albino. I have wished you, you will be mine. Well, he approached Ayumu and he only covered his butt, but someone hit the subject, sending him with a punch in the direction of the blackboard, destroying even the wall. That's when Haruna appears with her chainsaw. Ayumu? How did you get here? He said surprised. Haruna. Ayumu, you are bisexual, he exclaimed. Ayumu? You're wrong. Haruna. What are you doing? That thing THANOS sent flying is a mega, can't you tell it apart? She said it in her typical upset voice. Ayumu, how could he, exclaimed in panic. At that, the guy stood up from the rubble very upset. Damn him, he said as he began to deform, and 2 crab claws came out of him, removing his suit to pieces and turning into a giant crab with a suit. He's a AA class megalo, a nefarious super bad crab. That's what I think the chestnut would say. THANOS was only paying attention to what Haruna was saying until the megalo started to speak. I came because I was attracted by the magic of Amasu Shoujo and those ridiculous panties of yours, human, why does it have that magic? The crab would say, pointing his claws at Ayumu. The long story was the albino's simple response. Enough games, THANOS exclaimed, drawing the attention of those present. Right now you will see the great titan of the universe in action. He launched himself against the megalo with a kick that took him out of the windows. Ayumu and Haruna were surprised how he easily hit the megalo and Ikaros. She was calm but happy since even the enemy was very weak. Issei always protected her no matter what. The students who were in the courtyard only looked up at the building when they heard the sound of glass and walls breaking. THANOS feels the power itself destroying, he told you with his typical smile while in a gauntlet he appeared with a gem of power and launched a powerful lightning bolt against the megalo that he could not react to, and at the moment of being touched by the lightning he disappeared without a trace. Issei. It was just a rubbish good thing to do, and he changed her armor for her school uniform and in the gauntlet she disappeared. But an orange-haired girl noticed this while she was observing Issei. Haruna and Ayumu. Amazing. Haruna. With just one lightning bolt he took out a AA class megalo, I'm surprised how easily he did it. Ayumu just had his eyes wide open not believing what he saw. Ikaros quickly jumped down to head towards Issei. Issei fell to the ground normally, releasing a cloud of smoke, and everyone looked at him surprised that she was okay after that fall. The purple-haired man only received surprised looks until he heard his love Ikaros running towards his, at which point he extended his arms, and Ikaros extended his arms in the same way to give each other a hug and kiss in front of everyone. Haruna had her eyes rolling, and while Ayumu was jealous. Issei, upon noticing this, only gave a mocking smile. Ayumu mentioned THANOS. Yes, what's happening, replied the albino. You should thank me, said Issei, making a laugh. Why should I thank you, she said in her typical zombie voice. To prevent everyone from seeing that you are a Mashu Shoujo because of the power you stole from Haruna. Haruna. So what was the reason I can't use my powers because of that pervert? Issei only cried inside him since a long time ago he was one. Issei, let's go home, said his pink-haired girl. Of course, love, let's go, we'll go home ahead, we'll wait for you there. Ayumu only said in her head since when is it his house, but that he can do it. Haruna only saw the couple who enjoyed their closeness to each other, and always with that look of love, she began to be slightly jealous without realizing it. Issei and Ikaros upon arriving at the house saw Yu at his table drinking tea with a note of I'm hungry. Issei just smiled to go to the kitchen and prepare some broth. And for a second she felt that she could never taste it. The next day. Issei and Ikaros attended a new day of classes that for one was hell, and for the other it was fun. Issei, that's why he attended classes to be able to contemplate the beautiful smile of his girlfriend and future wife, along with other beautiful women of course. The week passed strangely without the attack of a megalo, and Issei was thinking what a new life would be like without anything to do with the past. Erasing that past with a snap and creating a future with another was not a bad idea, or just getting rid of the problematic garbage and of the damn traitors was a decision that he could not make alone, but with the help of time and his women, he will make a definitive decision. Ayumu remembered that Haruna prepared some fried eggs for her, while Ikaros similarly prepared a mento for Issei. Issei and Ikaros ate together, lost in each other, but her classmates began to go to Ayumu's place to exchange their lunch for the delicious eggs that the brunette Haruna-chan sent her. The day passed and they were already back home. Haruna welcomed them with her arms crossed and a proud smile while she chatted with Ayumu about the fried eggs. Issei just smiled, well I'll go prepare dinner. I'll help you, love, said Ikaros, hugging Issei. The purple-haired man just kissed his girlfriend very well, let's go, he said happier, and the two of them went to prepare dinner under the gaze of Erna, Ayumu and Yu, who only had a smile when they saw the couple very happy. Once dinner was ready, they sat on their knees to eat at their table. Erna had a predatory face, is this pig Kimuchi? My stomach growled and I let out a hearty laugh. Ayumu looked at her, can't you react normally? She questioned with the bored zombie face of hers. Erna. She acted like someone from another world, she said calmly. Ayumu. What kind of game is that? Yu handed him her bowl for another round of rice. Erna. How fast? Issei was eating calmly and saw Ikaros asking him for another bowl of rice. Ikaros. Please my love, saying it in a seductive way. Issei blushed and I imagined her giving him a perverted smile. Erna only had an observant face towards Issei and Ayumu because of their mental hallucinations of. Erna. I didn't know that the rice of this world was so good at restoring magic, she said it while she was tasting her gohan rice. And she asked for another bowl from Ayumu, who offered to serve the food made by Issei and Ikaros. Erna as usual asked for more and more bowls of rice. Ayumu imagined Yu but nothing filthy. Ikaros Issei please as she gave him her bowl to serve him more rice. Issei just smiled at her and blushed at the pink-haired girl's look at him. Unknown voice. I would like some miso soup. Issei. Yes, still lost, but he reacted and opened his eyes to see a girl with big eyes, black hair, with green eyes, a vampire-like cape and a ponytail, and who are you? She questioned calmly. The girl just said. Miso soup. Issei Ayumu. Miso soup sharing the zombie face. After a while. The black-haired girl respectfully said. Thank you for the food. Erna. Who is that? Pointing at the black-haired girl and looking at Yu. Ayumu. You mean you don't know her now, questioning the chestnut. Ayumu. Then it must be, turning her gaze towards Yu. But Yu was just eating and apparently deducing that he doesn't know her either. Issei. Hello, can you introduce yourself since none of us know you, he said happily. The girl only had her eyes closed to answer him. Understood, he called me Seraphim. What I like is the secret technique with the sword, Tsubamageshi. I am an expert with the secret technique with the sword, Tsubamageshi. My hobby is the secret technique with the sword, Tsubamageshi. Issei Ayumu. It all has to do with the secret technique with the Tsubamageshi sword, right? While a light drop of sweat ran across her head. Erna. Why did you come? Ikaros just watched carefully. Seraphim. Euclid House of Dono, I need your help, he said as he looked at the albino. My mission is to make House of Dono come with me in a good way. Issei. Where and for what? He said this with a serious face. Seraphim. To the ninja village, and I can't answer another question for you. Issei. What ninja was saying, looking at his great attributes and receiving a slap from Ikaros. Seraphim. Yes, I am a ninja vampire. Issei. It was already coming because of her KP, this one said in her mind. But Yu showed her notebook to Issei which said. Thanos, don't think about her, forget her. Issei. Do you think that's necessary? Yu said this somewhat dissatisfied. Yu. I just point to her notebook again with the same text. Seraphim. By the way, who are you to House of Dono? She said looking at Issei. Issei. He protected her while with her right hand he grabbed her chin with his cheek somewhat red and making a slight and cute pout in Ikaros XD. Ayumu. But what did he just say? Erna. I only saw Issei with a face of what? Yu. She showed her notebook again to Issei now with the text. I thought you were my servant. That was like a stake to Issei's heart. Ikaros only wanted to laugh. Seraphim. Then I will also be your servant, please call me Sarah. I just need a servant now, Yu showed in her notebook. Seraphim. Then, I'll take that fool's place, she said with her typical cold voice. Issei. You better watch your words, you don't know who you're dealing with, well, if you value your life, Issei said seriously. Seraphim. I don't need to be polite to a useless fool like you. But those words, Ikaros became angry and was going to attack, but Issei took her shoulder and just smiled at her which calmed her down. Seraphim. Let's go to an uninhabited place. Issei. Are you sure? I don't want to humiliate you, she said now in a serious tone. Seraphim. I will show you who is worthy of serving House of Dono, she said in a neutral tone. Change of scene. Cemetery. Issei was with a slight smile facing the vampire. Ikaros, Ayumu and Haruna were just spectators. Haruna. Hurry up and finish. Issei. He didn't pay attention to what they said, and he only limited himself to putting on his armor with the help of magic, but at the same time he invoked his sword, the one he used in Endgame against Thor, Iron Man and Captain America. I see, you want to kill me, he would say, making a slight smile. Seraphim. It's hopeless for me, objectively, I would say it's with his neutral tone, but I can see that you're not just an ordinary person. Issei. Good observation, but hey, start whenever you want, said this one, so you can get what the great titan should be like. At that Seraphim's eyes glowed red as he created a light wind accompanied by leaves. Seraphim. I will tear you into pieces until you can't fight, and in that moment a sword made of green leaves, typical of his secret technique, formed in his hand. I'm waiting for you, Issei said boredly. Then let's begin, the black-haired woman exclaimed, launching herself into an attack towards Issei, who made her sword collide with his sword. Issei. Not bad, I hope you don't bore me. At that Seraphim launched more swords, but they were no problem for Issei, who stopped them easily. At that Seraphim disappeared, Issei just smiled. Seraphim. I like the Tsubamageshi secret technique, I am an expert in the Tsubamageshi secret technique, my hobby, she said to the air to try to give a cut to Issei's back. Issei simply turned to block the slash. Seraphim. How were you able to block my secret technique, Tsubamageshi, said the black-haired woman with a slight tone of surprise. Issei. I told you, I'm stronger than you, he said in a serious tone. Seraphim. I see why Euclid chose you as his servant. Issei. All for love, he would say this in his mind with a small laugh, but this is not the time to talk, let's end this fight now. Seraphim. Secret technique, Tsubamageshi exclaimed, and then launched himself into the attack with incredible speed under the surprised gaze of Ayumu and Haruna. Issei only blocked the attacks with his sword, for it was nothing more than a game, so he had already decided to end the fight. In his right hand the Infinity Gauntlet appeared, and once again a great power was felt throughout the world and underworld. Seraphim. Since you were the bearer of that great power, in his mind he said that it was not a good idea to continue fighting, since the elders of his village warned him about it, and if he found him he had the mission of establishing a relationship with the individual to take him to his village. I give up, Seraphim said with his pride completely broken. Issei. I see that you understood your situation, I'm glad to see that you realized it, he said with a confident smile. Seraphim. May I know, who are you? And you are? He said the black-haired woman with a cold and neutral tone. Issei. I am the great titan of the THANOS universe, I practically come from a place very far away from this dimension, with the motive of recruiting strong people for revenge against beings that deserve to be annihilated, he would say with a cold and thirsty tone. Revenge. Great titan, dimension, is what the black-haired woman said in his mind in a state of shock, but seeing his power, she couldn't say anything and believed him since he defeated her in an easy way. Issei. If your superiors called elders are so interested in me or you, let them come personally since I hate those types of people who somehow remind me of my old world, he said seriously and with some anger. Seraphim. Understood, Thanos-sama, forgive the inconvenience, as she bowed before him and then disappeared in a flash. Ikeros-chan and you two, referring to Ayumu and Haruna, let's get out of here since you must be waiting for us. Ikeros went to Issei and gave him a kiss while they left hugging unlovingly under the gaze of an albino and a brunette with a wooden face. Ayumu residence. We're back, Issei and the others said at the same time, and they saw something that filled them with surprise, since Seraphim was serving you tea. Issei. Why are you still here? Didn't you say you were going to return home? He questioned something dubious. Seraphim. This is my house. Issei. I see you have returned to this house, he said it with a happy face, and immediately, do you intend to stay here, he asked calmly, while Ayumu said that when he made the decision to let people live in his house. Issei. But that's not what the fight was for, and what happened to your vampire ninja pride? I asked, being just as calm. Seraphim narrowed his eyes and then said, completing my mission at any cost is the pride of a ninja. And only you wrote in his notebook, what is happening, Dr. Garcia? Issei. Ayumu. Is what we want to know under the confused looks of Ikeros and Haruna. Seraphim. I have no choice, right? I'm going to be Thanos' servant. Sama pointed to Issei. Well, I just saw that he is a great man in person, so from now on I will be his servant. He said now with respect. Issei. Issei. Just call me Issei, I don't like being addressed with so much respect if we are friends now. Seraphim. Okay Issei, he said it with a slight blush that no one noticed. Issei. I have no problem with you being my servant, but if you don't want to I will respect your decision, since I don't like to force others to do something of mine, well that changes if it is my enemy. Seraphim. I want to be your servant Issei, so it is a great honor to be at your side, I would say it would be now. Issei. Very good, although Ikeros is my first wife, but it doesn't mean that you have to have so much respect for her, but you do have a lot of respect for Hela-chan, although she is my other wife, but she is kind of special in her way of being, but when you meet her they will get along well. All except Ikeros. Another wife. Seraphim. Aren't you a perverted womanizer, she asked with a grim face on her face. Issei. Of course not, if that were so, do you think that Ikaros was with me? I would never play with a woman's feelings, since that is going too low for a man, Issei said proudly, while Ikaros looked at him with love and kissed him, while everyone they looked at the very affectionate couple with a drop of anime-type sweat. Issei. Well, where I come from I also have more special people who are waiting for me, and who were with me despite everything. You can have several partners, but if there is love there is no problem for me. Ayumu. Wow, that's impressive. Haruna. In a way, yes. You. There are more important things that you didn't mention. Issei. Sorry, but when the time comes all of you will know everything in more detail, so while Ikaros and I are already going to sleep so we leave you. Under a mysterious gaze from Ayumu and confusion from the remaining girls. 1. Issei and Ikaros had decided to have a special night 7u7, the two were having good sex, but someone was on the roof very red listening to everything. It was Seraphim who was going to ask why House of Dono closed his heart, but seeing the circumstances he decided to leave. There, very red, I just listened. Issei, I'm coming, said an Ikaros on top of the purple-haired man, apparently reaching the climax. Maybe Ikaros, let's do it together, and the two of them gave a moan of having reached the climax, and Seraphim was just like, take it, so he quickly left. Their V. But according to Issei they had put up a silencing barrier, and the truth is that she didn't put it up, and those outside the room were shocked and red since she was from hardcore, and they just waited until the next day to bother them. Note. What do you want to call the son of Issei and Ikaros, and what generation do you want him to be? From here I will get Issei's first son, so feel free to comment as this is giving me some ideas for the future. The next day. Everyone was at the breakfast table while everyone except Issei and Ikaros were red and looking at them stealthily. Hey Issei, Ayumu said, drawing her attention. What's up Ayumu? I asked a little confused. Ayumu. Well, if you are going to have action during the night, try not to make too much noise or do something so as not to disturb others, he said, continuing with his blush. Issei and Ikaros were also quickly crazy. They heard them having sex and didn't realize it. Issei. Damn, I don't remember if I put the silencer barrier, this is very bad, what will I do? What will I do? He said in his panicked mind. Ikaros only looked down with a big blush as they were the center of attention. Seraphim. I hope it doesn't happen again, but I still hope they use protection, Red said. Haruna. Ikaros-chan and Issei-chan as they grew up quickly crying comically. Yu showed her notebook with the text, perverts. This only intensified Issei and Ikaros' blushes. Issei. Ahem, well, I'm sorry you heard all that, it won't happen again, but this should remain between us, it was clear after a serious look. Everyone except Ikaros. Understood. Issei would now show a smile. Well, that was all, let's continue eating since I love to enjoy the food that Ikaros makes for me, it really is the best, she said, caressing her head with happiness, while the named one only gave a warm smile of happiness. Those present had noticed that there was true love between them and that the two loved each other, and they only smiled for the couple. Until Haruna gives her food or bento to Ayumu who praises her for her delicious fried eggs, Haruna just gets embarrassed and goes all Tsundeer style. Until Haruna told the albino to die and hearing a slap on the table who was Yu who had not liked that word at all, but anyway, Haruna continued saying that Ayumu die until Yu slapped him, surprising everyone. Yu became sad and showed her notebook now with the text. Death is painful while he placed her hands on his chest. Haruna left there giving Yu a fried egg to eat. Issei. Wow, they really have no respect for death itself, it is something that should never be played with and used in words just like that. I agree with you, it is painful and leaves a big wound remembering when the great titan Thanos said goodbye to him, but he knew that Thanos now lived in him, giving a slight nostalgic smile. Ayumu and Seraphim did not say anything, but Ikaros understood what Issei was saying, but putting on a smile when he saw that his beloved did not cling to his past and always lived in the present, waiting for an uncertain future that brings pleasant things and others that do not. But hey, Ikaros-chan, let's go to the academy, we'll go ahead, we'll wait for you, Ayumu, said Issei. Ayumu okay, I'll see you. At school. Everyone saw Issei and Ikaros as more united and affectionate, who were in the center of attention, showing themselves to be a beautiful couple in front of everyone. Already in the Issei classes, Ikaros and Ayumu watched Naruto inviting different girls to bowling, but to their bad luck they all rejected him. The trio only felt sorry for that fallen soldier, but so that he wouldn't feel sad, they chose to go bowling with him just out of pity hahaha XD. While at Ayumu's house. Yu, Seraphim and Haruna had fun playing different games, but as Ukulento 7u7 that only us men enjoyed watching. Round bowling. Burrito. What? A masked group. Ayumu. Is this what you wanted? The staff recommended it so aggressively I'm not the only one who has bought one. Burrito just made a pitiful face and said Akawa, that's why you're still a child. Ayumu. Do you think so? Burrito. What girl would like a mask like that? You just have to act like a child instead of when and always by chance. Issei and Ikaros only felt sorry for him, since Ikaros really liked his mask, and there were 4 girls behind Arito's back enjoying his masks while they put it on. Ayumu. Poor Arito, the web is critical. The bowling, everyone saw how Issei and Ikaros made tricks very often and with a high score, but all the boys and girls could see that they were a very close and loving couple. Arito. I need a real woman, said this very excited man, children in uniforms are not enough for me. Ayumu only grabbed his right hand in the direction of his heart, feeling great pain and sorrow for poor Arito, and asking God to help him XD. But he saw other girls equally standing out in huts. Issei along with Ikaros went in the direction of Seraphim, Haruna and Yu. Issei. Wow girls, I didn't expect to see you here, said a very happy Issei, hugged by Ikaros. Ikaros. She also didn't expect to see them, she said now with a happier tone than usual. Haruna. Issei-chan, Ikaros-chan, wow, I see you guys are having a date. Seraphim. Wow, I didn't expect to see them either, but it's nice that they're having fun, she said, now putting on a smile, getting a little jealous since she was beginning to develop feelings for Issei. Yu. It's good that they are here and they don't know where Ayumu is. Issei. We decided to come here accompanied by a friend of Ayumu out of pity, and he is out there now pointing at a shocked Ayumu, since he did not want Arito to find out that he lived with them, so as not to make poor Arito feel so bad anymore. At that point, the girls along with Issei would approach Ayumu who was acting stupid, but it didn't work, and when Arito found out that they lived together he couldn't believe it. But Arito would receive a message from a special person for him. Furumachi Hospital. There is an Issei next to Ikaros in addition to Ayumu and Arito. Well, how about we go to see Kyoko's condition, said Arito. Issei. Ikaros. It's fine for us, they said smiling. Ayumu. Sigh, well, let's go. Issei. But what is she doing in this place? He questioned seriously. Arito. Kyoko is a victim of that serial killer. The only one who was shocked was Ayumu since Issei and Ikaros felt a type of energy in the room where the girl was, giving them a bad feeling. At that the girl mentioned having met Ayumu in middle school. But Ayumu apologized since he had never seen her. Issei. He only looked at the girl with a suspicious look but without being too obvious. After a talk, Kyoko mentioned characteristics similar to Yu's, trying to make her the serial killer. Issei along with Ikaros only increased their suspicions, but they would keep it to themselves after they left the hospital and until Arito left them alone to talk well. Already leaving the hospital and once Arito went to his house. Issei. Hey Ayumu said this, drawing the albino's attention. Ayumu. What's wrong Issei-sen said curiously. Issei. Ikaros and I noticed the power of Amashu Shoujo in that girl named Kyoko, plus we could see what she read your mind when she touched your forehead. You should be a little more cautious. I don't know what that girl is up to besides accusing you of something. Which he didn't do, so get on your asses, why one day they're going to break your mother he. Ayumu was just surprised. It's okay if you say so, then I understand so I won't doubt you again. Very well, then let's get home, Ikaros and I are very tired and sleeping would be a great rest, he would say while he hugged the pink-haired girl, and they left hugging. Ayumu. Very good with his typical zombie face. Well in DxD world. The factions except for the Yokai were now only one called the Great Babylon, the Great City of Sin, and all the leaders were defeated and fell prisoners in the depths of hell, totally repentant for the betrayal towards Issei. Though he was unfairly accused of something he never did, but now they are suffering the consequences of his actions. Ravel Phoenix now lived in Kyoto for her safety, and courtesy of Yosaka, she also located Graphia and doing the same she now went to live in Kyoto for the return of her beloved and hero with Sona and Tsubaki. Kunu could now be seen happier with her mother since she saw that she was really sorry for not helping Issei, and now she was preparing everything for her future return. Ollie's team maintains that name in honor of their best friend, but they went to Kyoto to take refuge with Office, who decided to go live there with Kuroka and LaFay to also live and wait for their loved one. Apart from there they were safer and insurance on the part of Biku and Arthur. The girls who betrayed Issei were now prisoners equally repentant but now suffering their greatest punishment. While Rizevim was planning an attack on the human world to also conquer everything within his reach, but for everything there is a high and powerful enemy, right? Aruna cooked happily while singing, meat, crab meat, meat, shrimp, eggs, meat, meat. And then remove all the meat from the cutting board and say, by the way, today I'm cooking vegetables. Issei and Ikaros were willing to make dinner, but Haruna was very insistent on wanting to make it, so they left it in the hands of the brunette, although this did not seem like a good idea to them. Haruna obviously began to cut the carrots with a knife and then proceed to slice the cucumber along with other ingredients to put them together in a frying pan with a little olive oil and begin to move the pan on the stove heat with a happy chestnut while he hums a song with his sweet voice. Everything was seen by Seraphim with an expressionless face. What do you find so funny about that? She questioned, narrowing her beautiful eyes. And she felt a grab and now opened her eyes in surprise, seeing that it was Haruna, and she just said help. Maintaining her big smile. Seraphim, what? Wait, Haruna. She tried to say, but the brunette pulled her into the kitchen with a happy laugh. To tell the truth, she did not expect that. Now she was holding a frying pan with a fixed gaze and barely noticing a small blush, but to tell the truth, in her mind she said that this was a good progress towards earning Issei's attention and love. Haruna now moved a frying pan where he was preparing daikon and poured oil well with a giggle, and in a happy manner he exclaimed, come on, come on. Well, he brought out a large flare of fire. Does it move? This daikon is moving. She exclaimed in surprise. Issei. I think it was a bad idea to leave her in the kitchen, he said regretfully, scratching the back of his neck. Ikaros. I say the same, equally sorry and a little scared for what they could have done in the kitchen. Ayumu. I don't know what they cooked, I just hope it's not proof of the experiment, he said, paler than he already was. Yu just drank tea from her in a calm manner while watching the TV. Issei. Do you also like to watch television? He questioned calmly. Yu just pointed her pen at her notebook and it had the text, 1 star. Issei and Ayumu just imagined Yu on a beautiful night with a full moon on it while he looked at the sky with his hands holding each other with a tender way of saying, I will disappear at the end of the year, Ani-chan. Issei, Ayumu. Wow. How serious, they said at the same time. And 1 block from the house there was a guy with a detective suit whose face could not be seen. Issei had already realized he was just waiting for him to take action to attack and he would intervene. Time skip. We found everyone at the table to eat while in the center was a pot with a purple liquid that at first glance was dangerous. Ayumu. Haruna only said for an explanation. Haruna. This is what happened when I told the ninja to help me, even for me it is a mystery, she said calmly. Ayumu. It's not a mystery. Seraphim. It's the first time I try to cook, was the simple response of the beautiful vampire, narrowing her eyes. Issei. I see, sometimes the first time doesn't turn out the way we want, so Ayumu, why don't you do us the favor of trying? She said mockingly to the albino. Ayumu. What, why me? She said surprised. Issei. I think you are the best one to try it, Sister Ko said. Ayumu. You say that because I'm a zombie, right? Issei. Bingo. At that, Ayumu took his Japanese chopsticks and then put them in the purple liquid, and upon contact, red smoke came out and you could see the chopsticks completely melted. Ayumu. The chopsticks. He exclaimed in surprise. Seraphim. You should not touch this food with something so weak, was what the vampire simply said. She quickly took an iron ladle and served the albino, and when she finished serving him, the ladle broke due to the strange toxic substances contained in the purple liquid. Ayumu. With an incredulous face she just watched as the ladle incredibly broke. Seraphim. Hurry. Put it in your mouth before the cup melts. She said the black-haired woman quickly. Ayumu. She's more worried about the bowl than me, she said it while crying comically. And she barely proceeded to drink the liquid while she glanced at her companions. Haruna. Hurry, baby, hurry. That's what the chestnut said anxiously so that the albino would eat what they cooked. Ayumu had a bead of an I'm-like sweat and drank the liquid and gave a cry of pain, releasing the bowl from her, while everything she saw began to distort and she finally fell to the floor. A little while later. Haruna. He has no pulse. Issei. Like I said, he's a zombie, so there's no problem. Hey Squidward, said the purple-haired man to the zombie XD. Ayumu slowly opened her eyes as he said, I saw a beautiful sky under the sea of flowers, Mom. Issei. I see that we are all hungry, so I will order some pizzas, and that will be settled. Ikaros. Well thought out, Ice, the pink-haired beauty would say with a warm smile. Issei took his phone from her pocket to dial the pizzeria. Hello crustacean crew. I want to order 2 large shrimp pizzas and mayo pizza with a drink, to hang up the phone immediately. Ikaros. He only had a drop of sweat on his head because a cartoon called SpongeBob SquarePants came to her mind. Haruna. Issei, can you lend me your cell phone? She questioned the brunette with her cheerful tone. Issei. Sure, here, he said kindly. Haruna took the cell phone and dialed. Is it Dai-sensei? Issei went to sit at the little table with the others. Seraphim. Who are you talking to? Referring to the chestnut. Issei. With Dai-sensei, I don't know why, but oh well. Dai-sensei, the vampire said, not knowing who she was. Issei. His teacher from Viri answered with a smile. Haruna. I haven't found the artifact yet, I would say with a smiling face, greetings, and then hang up the phone. Seraphim. What is that artifact? She questioned the vampire looking at the brunette. Haruna. She made a face remembering the name. Let's see, I think it's called Kyoto. No, I don't think it was fear, said the brunette, not remembering the name of the artifact. Issei. Hey, Kyoto mentioned Issei to give himself a memory when he went there on a school trip, how he met Kunu, and how he rescued Yusaka from the hero faction, in addition to his Ricolina reward when he saw her naked at the current Kyoto leader. She hoped to return as soon as possible to see her girls who truly trusted her. Ayumu. Firan, does that have a shape? The albino questioned. Aruna. Of course. It's small and soft. She exclaimed she is as her hands more or less gave her the shape of her. Issei looked at Seraphim and she just shook her head not knowing who she was. Thing's doorbell rang. Ayumu. That was fast, I would say, somewhat surprised. She stood up to go according to receive the pizzas. Issei. Wait, Squidward. He exclaimed. Ayumu. Squidward, I'm Ayumu, maybe you already forgot now, he exclaimed. Issei. I'll go get Mr. Krabs' pizza. Well, he whispered to Ikaros to be on guard and she just nodded with some seriousness. Ayumu. Well then go. Issei. Okay. Heading to the door and saying, I'm coming. At the door you could see the same guy in detective clothes waiting for the door to open. Issei had already realized, so he went to see who the guy was that was out there. She could feel a strange energy in him, but to prevent events she decided to go see. Issei opened the door and was surprised to see a Doberman wearing a brown detective suit. The Orikawa Ayumu-san, right? The Doberman asked in confirmation. Issei. No, it's Patricio. I would say Sakasturko, but who are you? He questioned, confused. Doberman. It's a pleasure to meet you, Patricio. This is Kerberos Wansert, introducing himself and taking his hat off. Issei. Nice to meet you. I can see that you are a Doberman. I would say nervous, since I had never seen anything like that. Kerberos. I'm not a Doberman, you see. He would say this seriously, showing that under the detective suit there was another one, but in exchange for the other one, this one was from the underworld. Issei. I can see that you are not a megalo. What are you? He questioned, something serious. Kerberos. I am the watchdog of the underworld. Well, more than a watchdog, I am an organism that does the opposite. I exist so that everyone can enter and prevent someone from leaving, I would say seriously. Issei. You're coming for Akawa, right? He told me that he was murdered and then you revived him. From what I can see, Ayumu entered the world of the dead, so their entry into the world of the living is prohibited. Well, that's your job, but it's surprising. Kerberos. You understand quickly, but you said he was revived, Helsed-sama would say, surprised. Issei. If she herself, you want to come in, she's in here. Kerberos. Go here, she came, for the reason she couldn't find her, she would say in her mind, if she would like to come by. Issei. Very good, let's go, he exclaimed. Issei. He entered the dining room. Hey you have visitors, he would say calmly, since he could see the Kerberos was not bad. This caught everyone's attention. Kerberos. Helsed-sama. He exclaimed in surprise. Those present only looked at him attentively. Kerberos. Helsed-sama, is this where you have been? He questioned in disbelief. Yu just calmly drank his tea and then narrowed his eyes to look at Kerberos and settle his question. Kerberos. Patricio-san. He told me that you revived Akawa-san, is this your work? I asked in confirmation. Ikaros. He was only laughing in his mind, he was holding back the urge to laugh, apparently those present do not understand the references. You. He just gave Kerberos another nod. Kerberos. Why didn't you tell me before? He questioned this and gave a tired sigh. Yu without expression just showed his notebook with the text. I forget. Kerberos. He gave another sigh. If he had known, he would not have come here, he would say with his same tired face. Kerberos. Do you understand, Patricio-san? That Helsed-sama is with you? He questioned Issei. Issei. Yes, and a lot, I answer, looking at Yu with a warm smile. Kerberos. Very good, but Helsed-sama must not be negligent either. Yu raised his notebook again with another text. No problem, I can handle it. Kerberos. Handle it, I see then, and then take his cup of tea and drink it shamelessly and throw a lot of tea on his clothes and on the floor. Kerberos. I'm sorry to have bothered you, now I have to say goodbye. Issei. You're leaving, but I suppose you're going to collect the soul of someone who was murdered around here, right? He questioned with a confident smile as he already knew the answer. Kerberos. You impress me, you are very fishy, but I am going to take that soul. Ayumu. What? Really? He questioned in disbelief, so I can accompany you, Kerberos-san. Kerberos. You want clues to your killer, don't you? He questioned seriously. Ayumu. Yes, I want to know who murdered me, although I also want to thank her because thanks to her, I got to know you and my friends better, looking at the rest with a smile. Kerberos. I see, then let's go, he would say, walking to the door. Ayumu. Issei, won't you go? Issei questioned. In a while he caught up with them. Ayumu. Okay, we're waiting for you, and he left quickly to reach Kerberos. Time skip. We can see Kerberos and Ayumu at the crime scene, a house about 9 blocks from the Okawa residence. In a room they could see a person on the floor accompanied by a pool of blood. You could see what was stabbed by a sword in the stomach, but who killed him? That was the mystery until now. While Ayumu and Kerberos were having a conversation about the souls that did not reach the underworld, that they were offered as an offering, and that the sacrifice of the dead gave an incredible amount of energy, but the one who was offered the souls was the king of the night. But behind him the murderer was sneaking up to kill them, while he prepared his sword with blood still dripping from it. At that Kerberos and Ayumu heard a sword being carved into the wall approaching them. They were surprised and horrified, and the murderer launched an attack, but that same attack was blocked by another sword by a subject with golden armor, and then hit him. He kicked the murderer, sending him flying against a wall. The murderer decided to flee and apparently escaped successfully immediately with the impact against the wall. Issei. They are fine, I would say, looking at those present. Ayumu. Thank you very much, Thanos, and would say, grateful. Kerberos. What a surprise Patricio is, thank you very much, if it weren't for you right now I would be dead, this equally grateful man would say. Issei. Now they are my friends, I would say with some embarrassment, but I changed to seriousness and said, when I kicked her I hit her in the chest, and I felt soft because she is actually a murderer, and she is the same one who was in the hospital. I felt the same trace of Mashu Shaojo's energy, and with that I confirmed that it is Kyoko. Ayumu. Really, he questioned seriously and incredulously. Issei. Yes, seriously, she played with your friend Arito's mind, making him think that she was his childhood friend, and she had already planned to try to kill you again. Why do you think she couldn't play with your mind? He questioned and answered seriously, it's easy that you now have a zombie body created by Yu's magic, so it protects you from magical threats both psychologically and physically. Ayumu. I can't believe it, he exclaimed in disbelief. Kerberos. I can see that you already know who the murderer Patricio-san is. Your deduction in these cases really surprises me so much, but do you know where he is right now? I ask seriously. Issei. Thanks for the compliment, but to answer your question, I don't think she's still in the hospital. She will surely leave there, but I know that soon we will find her again, and that will be when we finish with her, he said, with the tone of the great titan himself. Kerberos. I see, I would say, understanding the topic. Ayumu. Well, in that case, I will trust you, Thanos-san. It's hard to believe, but apparently you already suspected this since you saw her. Kerberos. Well, now I say goodbye, Ayumu-san and Patricio-san. Please take care of Helsed-sama. She is a special person, although she does not show it so easily. Issei. Of course I will protect her with my life, and do not doubt that I will make her happy, and I will never make her cry, this very self-confident man would say. Kerberos. I will trust you, was the last thing she said, and then returned to the underworld. Issei. Ayumu, let's get out of here. I think Mr. Krabs' pizza has arrived, he would say, he's already hungry. Ayumu only had a drop of an I'm-like sweat due to the drastic changes in the purple-haired man's attitude, but she appreciated a lot of what he did for him and the other girls, so right then and there she decided to be one of Thanos' troops, but she would tell him after a little time. Time skip. Issei and Ayumu were returning home, having a talk between them about what might happen in the future, but what made Issei happy was that the albino decided to join his troops, as well as his best friend. Their friendship grew each time. As time passed, they spent time together, like going to video games, playing gacha, playing some music, and above all they trained together so that Ayumu could improve her Mashu Shaojo magic control, in addition to training melee, since it was a very important factor, and we cannot forget swordsmanship in both attack and defense, many enemies in that world. Some carried swords with unknown techniques that could do serious damage, and to prevent that I taught him swordsmanship. Despite the fact that Ayumu is a zombie and is practically immortal, does not mean that it will always be like that. If one day they come to face a powerful enemy that can affect the magic of Euclid Helsed, it will be something in which the zombie would truly be in serious trouble. The two had already arrived at their destination, Okawa residence, and upon entering the dining room, you could see the pizza boxes on the table completely empty, while the brunette Haruna was sleeping peacefully at the table, and you could see Yu and Ikaros watching the television. What first came to the mind of the male duo was that they were waiting for them. Yu, as usual, without having any expression, showed her notebook with the text. Welcome. Ikaros could only see the face of her sad loved one, and he immediately saw why easy there was no pizza and he was hungry, but like a good wife, she ordered one more pizza the moment Issei left to help Ayumu and Kerberos. Issei. No, said the brunette when he saw that there was no more pizza, and he began to cry comically. Ikaros. Love, look, there is still a box, I ordered it for you when you left, so sit down and eat it, and then let's go to sleep. This was said by the pink-haired girl with a warm smile of pure love. Issei. My love, what would he do without you? And he went to kiss his girlfriend. He felt very happy to see that his love saw for him and was always attentive to what he needed. Ayumu? And Rizevim, Yu questioned. The albino alone Denali with her feather pointing upwards, implying that she went to sleep. Issei. Ayumu mentioned this with a smile and drawing his attention. Ayumu? What's wrong, Issei-san? I ask with doubt. I see. Come join me to eat this pizza, and apparently they brought the drink. The silver-haired girl just gave a smile and continued to eat with his best friend. Ikaros was happy. His love was trying to further strengthen his friendship not only with the zombie, but also with Haruna, Yu and Rizevim, but precisely the last two mentioned could become his next wives. This did not affect him, but he just wanted them not to see his loved out of interest or convenience. But when she saw what the vampire and Euclid were like, she calmed down. She had also gone out with them to different parts of the city and got to know them more and could see that they were beginning to develop feelings for Issei and could only give a satisfactory smile. Issei had already finished eating part of his pizza and with a look something would be directed. Do you have a minute? He questioned this. Yu just nodded his head in motion for them to go to the courtyard. Ikaros only gave her an idea of what he wanted to talk to her about but decided not to intervene. Ayumu only had a confused look about what Issei wanted to talk to Yu, but he decided to stay there until he finished part of her pizza and wait for the talk. With Issei. What did you want to talk about? She showed Yu that text in her notebook without expressing emotions. Issei. Well, somehow know why do you suppress your emotions? I want to help set our protagonist at the same time remembering his cute gothic loli office and her problems of lack of expression and emotional, but in a short time he became paralyzed. What happened? With his cute Imatu Lilith. Remembering that he was under the care of the fallen especially in Issei, but what he did not know is that the cadre Penemu escaped with Lilith to Kyoto courtesy of Yasaka, since they were uniting all the supernatural beings who trusted Issei to just in case Rizevim attacked them. Valerie Teeps had found out what the factions did to her beloved Issei and fell into fury apart from shuddering, since Rizevim was still alive and knowing him he will want to take over the Sephiroth Grail for his own convenience and was quickly sought out by the Yakai faction, and thanks to the beautiful older Kitsune, he is safe with the others who are waiting for the return of their lover hero friend. Yu showed his notebook again with the text, do you want to know? Issei. Of course, if I can help you in any way, I am willing to do this, he said, sending the albino a warm smile. Yu blushed something that was noticed by Issei, but he was very happy that Yu little by little, without realizing it showed his emotions or rather unconsciously. The albino only proceeded to write text on sheets and tear them out of the notebook and then give them to Issei. Sheets with text, the chain moves along destiny, a strong magical presence will make it move faster, disturbances and uncertainties make me lose control of my magic, this affects the chain of reality and the paths of destiny, that's why I allow myself to express my emotions. I can't speak, because my words have magic, that's why I don't allow myself to speak. My words are very heavy, not even I know which of my words will become magic, that's why I don't allow myself to say a single word. Issei, despite reading it, could feel the albino's sadness when writing each text, so he set out to solve this problem, so that in the future he would not have problems and could see her smiling and freely expressing her feelings. But he immediately received another sheet from Yu. Leaf. An intense pain runs through my head when my words become magic, I don't want that anymore. LEAF2. My blood grants immortality when my heart releases a great amount of power. Issei looked at her and deduced, I guess you use those clothes to suppress your power, right? She questioned seriously. Another new leaf was given to him. Blade. I put on these gloves and plate armor to suppress my magic, my powers are not tied to my will. Yu now showed a paper at the same time hiding a sad face. Leaf. My power will continue even if I die. Issei, he didn't like that text at all, and he put on a complicated face. He saw that she was crying and for a moment he also felt that way, not because of him, but because of Yu and all the suffering that he had to keep in her. Yu was crying and in his notebook he had the text, you must be hating me. But Yu was surprised as she felt how Issei hugged her with warmth and appreciation while whispering, I could never hate you in my life, you are a very beautiful, gentle and kind girl, you will always be in my heart, I will always be with you, and I will never let you down. You will never be alone since you have me, Ikaros, Rizevim, Haruna and finally Ayumu, we will always be there for you because we are a family, right? Our protagonist finished saying V with great warmth still hugging the albino. Yu heard what she wanted to hear, that they will accept her as she is in addition to Issei's warm words to Ella. Without realizing it she smiled and responded to the hug while she stopped crying, resting her head on the boy's chest. Yu sent a warm smile to Issei, still with light tears in her king's beautiful blue eyes, as she said thank you in a tender voice. Issei, seeing her beautiful face, Yu reciprocated the same warm smile and gently wiped away her tears and then took her right cheek with a warm touch and narrowed her eyes with the same warmth. Yu just closed his eyes when he felt Issei's hand on his cheek. It felt good and warm, a feeling that no one made him feel. Taking advantage of the fact that Issei had his eyes half closed, little by little he closed the distance until Yu. Issei opened his eyes in shock when he felt the albino's soft lips, but she could feel her feelings and her love for him, so he reciprocated her kiss with the same love, lasting almost a minute. But what stood out the most was Yu's big smile. Issei couldn't be happier, and now all she had to do was fix the problem with Yu's magic, and surely she would be happier than she already is. All she had to do was think of a solution. That day another love would be born for our protagonist without realizing it. The next day. It was morning and the sun was slowly rising, but suddenly the presence of a megalo was felt, which caused the group that lived in the Okawa residence to wake up immediately to face it. In the city of Tokyo everyone heard the sound of a whale, and when they looked up at the sky, they saw a giant whale in a black suit. It was flying with water around it. Issei, with the help of Rizevim, thanks to the fact that he is a vampire, was able to reach megalo at a height. Haruna looked closely at the megalo, and upon analyzing it well deduced that it was a AAA class megalo, the blue whale, defeated and weak. And on the contrary victorious and invincible. Issei. We must be careful when attacking, we just have to distract him, and Ayumu will deliver the final blow, he said seriously. Rizevim. Sounds good to me, then we have to distract that thing, I would say it with the same seriousness. Ikaros and Yu were just waiting for what was happening with an analytical look at the movements their loved one friends were making. Haruna. Hurry up and kill that mother, she would be serious by throwing her chainsaw at the albino. Besides, you'd better become Mashu Shoujo, since you won't be able to fight in that state you're in. Ayumu took the chainsaw that was stuck in the ground and pulled it out. I have no choice, let's see, I'm sure the spell was going. He said it with a serious face. The albino began to recite the spell, Namabayo, Ashi, Hashitawa Dogita, Gunmacha, Durabura. The albino since he began to recite glowed in a pink color, beginning his transformation, while the clothes magically began to be placed on his body. At the end of the transformation, Ayumu was seen wearing the clothing of a Mashu Shoujo from Haruna. Ayumu's name appeared on the chain lock. The albino was holding her with his eyes half closed, appearing serious at that moment, and when he opened them he could see that Yu was watching him, but his look said that she was a pervert. Issei. Very good, then finish it, I'll be down here in case something happens. Ayumu gave a nod and gave a powerful jump that raised him to a great height, while the brunette Haruna told him, go Ayumu. Do it for me. Do it for me. Ayumu was flying in the direction of the megalo, looking at it seriously, while Rizevim was on the side with his bladed sword. Rizevim. Ayumu, that appearance is quite unpleasant, did you know? The vampire would say it by making an unpleasant face at the albino. Ayumu. Sorry for not telling you, but you don't have to tell me, he would say, looking at how Megalo's Class A blue whale was getting dangerously close to them. The Megalo blue whale would appear right in front of its mouth, alerting the zombie and the vampire of an attack. Issei noticed this and summoned the Infinity Gauntlet with a space gem. Ikaros just watched her husband try to defend them and only gave a warm and calm smile, while Haruna and Yu watched attentively at Issei's left hand. The gauntlet appeared. With a blue gem it gave a shine never seen before and unique to the Infinity Gems, and they only chose to see what it would do. Ayumu and Rizevim successfully dodged the Megalo's attack that was heading towards a part of the city, but strangely, the attack went through a strange black portal, and nothing happened. Yu and Haruna finally understood what Issei was doing when he saved people with the space stone, sending the attack somewhere in the universe, and they just breathed a sigh of relief that no one was affected. Rizevim was surprised, she never thought that that would be the power of one of the 6 Infinity Gems, but she just looked at our protagonist with a smile, since thanks to him, many people were saved from that attack. Without knowing, she was slowly falling in love with him. Issei, but it was not the time to think that and focus on the threat that endangered humans. Ayumu was not so surprised since when training with Issei, he showed him the power and abilities of each Infinity Stone, so it was not something new for him. Haruna. Ayumu, you just have to cut off his head, he shouted at the top of his lungs. Ayumu. Cut off head. He wondered and put on a thoughtful face about some attack, but what he was thinking about was that water began to come out of the hole in the whale's heads at great speed and was mortally dangerous upon contact. They were heading towards Ayumu and Rizevim, who were dodging the attacks. Attacks with difficulty in the air. Right in front of them, Issei appeared, but his surprise was great when he saw that he had large, strong red wings, but they weren't just any type of wings, they were those of a dragon. From afar, they looked like they were metallic, but they were like that. Issei. "What are you two doing?" referring to the albino and the black-haired girl. "If you continue like this city could be destroyed." "Well, although for me it wouldn't be a problem, but it won't always depend on me," he said seriously. "But anyway, Ayumu, prepare your powerful kick while it will be Chan with his Tsubamegeshi sword. Cuts off as much of his neck as he can so that Ayumu can finish it off, understood?" Seraphim blushed at the fact that he called her Sarah-chan, but managed to state that he understood Issei's strategy. "Ayumu?" He only nodded to prepare his attack. "Well, I'll go help Haruna with a magic barrier to protect the city," Sarah-chan entrusted it to her. Seraphim just nodded, and in the air he spread his wings and his hands, while his eyes glowed red, while the blades made his sword bigger and bigger, and when he finished he launched himself into the attack. Ayumu narrowed her eyes and then whispered the increase in her power, 200, 300, 400, and with each drastic increase in number, her brightness intensified more and more. As Seraphim approached the whale, he launched attacks at the vampire, who dodged with great speed in the air and then wielded his sword with his two hands and exclaimed, "Secret technique with the sword, Tsubamegeshi. Here I go." And he launched himself with all his strength and speed, while giving a highest shout, implying that he was putting all his strength into the cut on the megalo's head, and indeed he gave a big cut that made the blue whale megalo writhe like a worm with salt, expressing pain. Issei only gave a smile. The vampire really had enormous potential, and he liked her attitude in battle a lot, but the same thing happened to him as it did to her. Little by little it was taking effect. Ayumu glowed brightly pink. Each percentage increase her Mashu Shoujo suit became prettier in a way. 800% whispered again, but Haruna noticed the albino's increase in power. "Haruna?" "Ayumu?" she said, surprised. "Ayumu?" 860, 900, a little more, this one said with an effort to accumulate a lot of magic. "Haruna? Her dress is getting prettier and prettier," I would say it with the same surprised face. "Ayumu?" 950, 980, this one whispered. "Haruna? Don't do it, Ayumu. You shouldn't make yourself cuter." He exclaimed this. Ayumu opened her eyes, indicating that she had reached 1000% magic accumulation, in addition to receiving great strength, and she realized now her outfit was prettier, and she was only ashamed of it, but now taking her attitude, she would take a big leap again. Reaching the atmosphere and falling in a form of flying kick at maximum speed and hit the cut, intensifying the wound to such a degree that it cut off the head of the megalo blue whale, and it was alone. It writhed in pain and finally gave a great explosion, which only the magical trail remained in the form of little sparkles that descended slowly. "Time skip. Please don't be afraid, Haruna," the vampire whispered to the brunette. "Haruna? But I'm not prepared for this," he said with a hoarse voice. "Seraphim? Don't worry, leave everything to me," he whispered again in a sensual voice. Haruna's cheeks were red, and you could see that she was nervous. "Seraphim? It won't hurt, just relax," he whispered and then kissed the brunette. Who gave a slight push when she felt the black-haired girl's soft lips. Both had a noticeable blush. Haruna had a surprised face, while Seraphim had a warm face. Haruna tried to force herself, but the vampire had her grip on both of her wrists until she ended the kiss, and Haruna relaxed quite a bit. A peculiar way for vampires to take blood, first relax their prey and then take their blood. Haruna left her neck exposed and Seraphim's green eyes changed to a reddish color, and she gently approached Haruna's neck to the chew. "Ha" was the moan that the brunette gave when she felt how the vampire gently stuck her fangs into her neck. All this was seen by Yu and Ikaros, who were drinking their tea at ease. The blushing Ayumu only saw this behind the dining room door while Issei was preparing something in her room. Seraphim, after finishing drinking Haruna's blood, gently removed his fangs from the chestnut's neck and placed his teeth right on her breasts, which brought a warm smile to our vampire. Issei was going down the stairs after creating an artifact that would be of help to him in the future, and he went down to eat something, and he saw that Ayumu was spying on the vampire and the brunette, but to do evil he said. "Issei. Hello Ayumu, what are you doing?" She said it out loud, drawing the attention of the girls and a startled albino. "Seraphim. Why weren't you peeking?" "Piece of shit" would say it with a cold face, and that promised suffering for the albino, who was only sweating profusely. "Ayumu." She was going to say something, but she was sent flying by a strong one courtesy of the vampire. "Issei." He was just laughing out loud since his evil turned out well. Change of scene. "Thank you very much, come back soon," said the owner of a ramen restaurant, who looked happy. A beautiful girl came out of the restaurant. She had emerald green eyes, orange hair that reached her shoulders, with a ponytail at the top right in the shape of a shuriken, but she had a good figure and also stood out. "The size of your breasts." But when she left, she saw someone suspicious, and for a few seconds he followed her with his gaze and only continued to walk side by side with the suspect. Back at the Akawa residence. "Issei. I see you need to drink blood periodically so you can survive, don't you?" I ask in confirmation. "Seraphim. That's right, as long as I have a constant supply of blood, I can live easily. Issei. I understand the truth is that you remind me of a very special vampire that I met in my dimension. Her name is Valerie Teeps, and she is from the vampire faction, but to tell the truth, she has a sacred gears called Sephiroth Grail, which has the power to revive the dead, no matter who it is, he would say, remembering the beautiful Rubia. Seraphim. Really? Are there vampires in your dimension? I would say surprised. Issei. Yes, although these are not ninjas, but some have sacred gears with different magical power functions. Seraphim. Sacred gears. What is that? I would ask it with great doubt. Issei. Well, the sacred gears are artifacts with different powers that some of the different factions could possess. In my case, I had the Red Emperor Dragon Drake. This would be a celestial dragon sealed in the sacred gears, and that at the moment of escaping merged with my soul, managing to increase my power, in addition to the fact that my body is made by two powerful dragons. Breed Red and Office the Dragon of Infinity. After facing a strong enemy at that time, Drake helped me by containing my soul in Greed Red. With a piece of his flesh I created a body, and with the power of Office, I became a 100% dragon, and now with the power of my partner Drake, I am much stronger, but after I put the trash in its place. I am going to revive my partner well, who I also saw how a father would say Issei, somewhat melancholy. Seraphim. Wow, that's surprising, but I still have a hard time believing that you're a dragon. I'd say it with a smile. Issei. At first yes, but as time progresses it becomes common. I would say it with a smile returning. Ikaros and Yu would go buy something for dinner. Ayumu and Haruna are in their respective rooms, so for the moment Seraphim and Issei are alone in the dining room. Seraphim only blushed at the moment they were having, but he would not let this opportunity that is being presented to him pass him by. Issei. Tell me, Sera-chan, would you be willing to be by my side? Issei would ask with a warm smile, taking the lead. This took the vampire by surprise, and she blushed more at the purple-haired man's question, but in her mind she was jumping with happiness. She gave a sigh, still red. She said, breathless with shame. I want to be by your side, the beautiful black-haired woman finished saying with courage and determination, although the blush did not disappear. We go back years to 2014 where Thanos could clearly see his death at the hands of Thor with the powerful Stormbreaker, but what was more surprising was that the gauntlet had disappeared in its entirety, along with the Infinity Stones. Thanos, after analyzing and thinking about what he had seen, ordered that both Nebula's beaks changed so that they could infiltrate with the Avengers and thus be able to travel to the future through the quantum realm where the Infinity Stones were already collected. And that was how his plans went until the decisive moment. Thanos had not destroyed the van where the time travel machine was located. At that moment Thanos already had the Infinity Gauntlet made of nanotechnology by Tony, but before he could make the snap he was sent flying by Captain Marvel straight to the van. Thanos had no fixed time to establish himself, and it was only a matter of time. Destiny to wait for what time it would stop. He only closed his eyes due to the tremendous speed at which he was traveling through the quantum realm. At that, the Infinity Gems made a powerful shine, apparently finding a coordinate created from the previous gems, so the trip intensified at a tremendous speed, causing Thanos to put his right hand in front of his face and close his eyes tightly due to the tremendous trip. But suddenly everything stopped. Thanos little by little opened his eyes, and at the same time little by little, he lowered his right hand, letting the sunlight illuminate his face and breathing in the calm wind of the earth. Thanos looked around, seeing a beautiful field of purple flowers, and in the distance he could see one or another windmill. Thanos? What happened? Where am I? Thanos questioned himself in his mind after leaving the quantum realm. But what did I have to do? Take advantage of the moment and click to erase all life in the universe and create life from scratch, or wait for a short period of time? The truth is that he didn't care which decision he made, but that on his journey the gems would react differently. A strange shape left him curious since the same gem sent him to where he currently is. Thanos did not know where to start his journey, he only saw the horizon. Something told him to head in that direction, and he began his walk towards a destination where he will confront his reincarnation from the future. Kyoto, Japan. The XD world. Time: 5:30 p.m. Office. What was that? She would ask herself a little scared, putting a hand to her head, drawing the attention of the others. Hiroka. What's happening, Office Naya? She would ask, worried about her leader. Everyone was watching them since only some felt the same sensation. Office. I don't know if it's me, but I have a feeling that soon a guy stronger than Trihexa will come, but I have a feeling that he will be on our side. What the Dragon of Infinity had said left everyone in shock and some thoughtful, anyone stronger than the Trihexa. Some thought that Office was exaggerating, but a few felt the same sensation as Office. Does Destiny already have its victory against the Morning Star? Or would they just be governed by another subject? Those were the questions that were going through Queen Yasaka's mind. Grafia felt that it was too short a time for her to see her loved one again. Who knew, the little lowly kitsune was left years ago. Now she was a well-developed young girl. Apparently her body is taking the good shape of her mother and also inheriting those great attributes. She had the same sensation as Grafia and only felt a great relaxation and a weight. He got rid of him. Yasaka only gave a somewhat heavy sigh. She knew that Issei's return was getting closer, but at the moment they couldn't let their guard down in case Rizevim attacked. Change of scene. THANOS read the mind of a demon on the verge of death. Thanks to the Mind Stone he acquired great information about the place where he was and where humanity will suffer a great invasion by the supernatural world and where the biblical factions formed. Only one, the Great Babylon, an apocalypse never seen since according to the Bible. The only faction that would be saved from that would be the faction of heaven, but due to having totally stupid leaders, they condemned their own race and its salvation, for which according to some scriptures from a long time ago. The life we know will be totally erased, and another will emerge where a new being will govern everything as it should. No one knows who wrote it. They only found a textbook where he made a prophecy about the future, but who will have found that mystery book? Was the end closer? Or is it just a lie written by a crazy person? Nobody knows, but the world was already doomed a long time ago. Only some will be saved from this terrible apocalypse, and only they will know what was once a mistake of the past. THANOS had found confidential information about what was coming and the supernatural, but there was something that caught his attention, and it was the Red Emperor Dragon. Something linked him to that strange man. He felt confused, a lot of information he did not expect to obtain, but he was satisfied. Since he would have to restore order and defeat the King of Babylon. Rizevim. Scene change. Dimension Korwa Zombie Dazuka. Ayumu. Hey Issei, I notice you're very thoughtful. What's going on? He would ask, curious to see our protagonist so thoughtful. Issei. I really don't know, I feel like something is going to happen in the dimension where I come from. I don't know exactly what is going to happen, but I have an idea of what it could be, he would answer, trying to affirm his reason. Ikaros. Only made a thoughtful face, since she also had the idea of what was happening in that dimension. Since a long time ago when she became Issei's girlfriend, the aforementioned told her about his future plans and what could occur. Seraphim, Haruna and Yu only showed a blank face because they didn't know enough information. Ayumu continued with his serious face, and what do you plan to do from now on? He would ask with great curiosity. Issei. We will return to my ship in 5 days. I believe that Helichan has gathered enough army to face the entire supernatural world, he would say with a gloomy tone, and wanting to destroy the bastards who gave him the back. Underworld. Castle Babylon. It was quite a spectacle as it approached, since it would practically be the day of execution for the faction leaders. Serziches, Seraphol, Ajuka, Asmodeus, Shemazai, Michael were seriously injured on the verge of death due to the relentless torture they had to endure. By absorbing the power, the leaders were left pathetically without magical power and looked like shit before Rizevim. Serziches. So this is our end, I would say, hardly due to his serious injuries. Ajuka. Yes, practically we were really stupid in giving the throne to that unfortunate man on a golden platter, I would say in the same state as the red-haired man, but with fury and hatred in his words. Seraphol. She was only crying, begging to be saved by the one she once loved but unfortunately betrayed, but apparently their destinies were marked. The other leaders could not move because of the suffering they had previously received as a result of doubting the young man who saved them and who was now dead, and nothing could save them anymore. Hahaha. They heard a satisfied laugh and saw it was Rizevim who arrived elegantly with his typical face that reflected the pure evil of a super demon. Serziches. Would say barely on the ground. The other leaders also went against the white-haired man with their last strength, but Rizevim still humiliated them again by sending them to the ground again. Rizevim. No matter what they do they will never beat me. He exclaimed with strength and pride so that later he would stretch out his hand and a green magic circle would appear and create a powerfully green sphere over the former leaders. Haha die shit and thank you, he would say like a maniac and exclaiming his attack oxygen destroyer. At full force. The former leaders began to scream in despair within the sphere as their flesh slowly left their bones. Shortly after. Rizevim. Hahaha that felt really good he would say with his same manic face, while in the sphere only skeletal remains of what were once the faction leaders remained. General Demon 1, apparently his new technique was a success, he would say with amazement when seeing its functionality. Rizevim. Hahaha right. General Demon 1 excuse me, but what is the function of that great technique of yours sir? He asked with curiosity and respect. Rizevim. As you heard it is called Oxygen Destroyer, and as its name says, it consists of disappearing all traces of oxygen in a certain area, thus disappearing all traces that contain and require oxygen, apart from absorbing a certain amount of magic, it would end explained with a laugh. And the news would be known in Great Babylon and in the independent factions. Hella. What a good show, he would say with slight excitement in his voice since he loved to see others die. But now the real destruction and death will begin, he would say in a cold tone to inform Issei what happened through a magic circle. Change of scene. Issei was having dinner with his girlfriend Ikaros and what would be his future girlfriend Seraphim, Yu in the company of Ayumu and Haruna. Ayumu? Issei, then the moment is truly approaching, I would say with a serious look. Everyone paid attention to the purple-haired man's response. Issei. Yes, to tell the truth, Hela-chan gave me very good news, I would say with a satisfactory smile. Ikaros. Ice, don't tell me that, she would say in a tone of astonishment without finishing what she had to say. Why? Issei interrupted her. I see. Haha, shit, the former leaders were killed by Rizevim, he exclaimed with joy. Everyone was amazed by this news, especially Ikaros. Ikaros. Ice, so is it time to use that legendary creature you found in the universe? Ikaros asked with intrigue. Seraphim. What creature are you talking about? He questioned seriously. Yu took out his notebook and showed an X2 to Seraphim's question. Haruna. What did you find in the universe? She questioned curiously with a raised eyebrow in surprise. Ayumu. That sounds interesting, I would say with a face of total astonishment. Issei. Very good, I will explain everything so that I can answer your questions. Flashback. Issei and Ikaros were on a planet that was very similar to Earth, but what caught their attention was that humanity was extinct and on Earth there was only a creature with a terrifying appearance, and it was already close to 250 meters, so they discovered that the name of that monster is Shin Godzilla. A species that was created in the depths of the Pacific Ocean after feeding on US nuclear waste, and that somehow this creature adapted to the radiation and managed to grow to extraordinarily large dimensions, which by eating animal species, he managed to adapt to his physical capabilities, but not 100%, and developing an intelligent mind. When Godzilla reached his fourth phase, humanity tried to annihilate him with infantry attacks, but they failed, and there were several attempts until desperate with a massive attack of nuclear bombs, they tried to eradicate him without knowing that that was going to be the last day they would be alive, since Godzilla created a kind of electromagnetic barrier created from his powerful power core. Ikaros and I captured Godzilla by modifying his structure, and his power source now did not depend on radiation or nuclear energy, but would now have magical capabilities, thanks to the fact that they managed to combine the power of Drag, Albion, Greed Redenophis, whose place of residence is in Issei's body. Thanks to this, Godzilla managed to evolve into a beast never seen before, and the advantage is that he generates his own unlimited magic. It is incredible what we discovered on that planet, I would say with a smile. End of flashback. Ayumu. They experimented on a totally dangerous creature, she exclaimed in complete shock. Haruna. Wow, that's interesting, but how powerful is she? She questioned seriously. Seraphim and Yu were only paying attention to the conversation. Issei. Well, if we compare it to my dimension, I would say that it is stronger than Trihexa itself, I would answer as if nothing had happened. Those present, except for Ikaros, were in shock because according to the purple-haired man's stories, that dragon was one of the most powerful in its dimension. THANOS. Anyway, it's time to sleep, tomorrow we have to go to school, he would say normally, although in his mind he kept thinking about a certain teacher. When he felt his magical power, he realized that he was sealed or in some kind of curse. Which tomorrow would solve that problem. The next day. Issei was seen walking next to his girlfriend Ikaros, and behind them a stone-faced Ayumu heading towards his school. Mysterious girl. Is that the intruder? An orange-haired woman would say what seemed to be his ally. Mysterious girl too. If it is him, you have to be very careful when dealing with him, I would say a black-haired woman with an even more serious look. Issei interesting was what he would say simply as they entered his school. Time after. Classes ended and the students went home, except for one. Issei. Ayumu mentioned the albino. Ayumu. What's wrong, Issei? He questioned doubtfully. Issei. I'll be a little late getting home, since I have some business to take care of, I would say, a little seriously, seeing his teacher putting away his things. Ayumu. Count on me, I guess Ikaros will stay with you, right? He asked, still already knowing the answer since he and Ikaros were inseparable. Issei. If Ikaros-chan stays with me, I would say delicately taking the pink-haired girl's cheek with her right hand and then kissing her. Ayumu. Okay then I'll leave you, he would say with his typical zombie attitude. Issei. Ikaros' time, I seriously mentioned to go to the teacher. Professor. Issei. Ikaros, why are you still here? She questioned since it was past checkout time. Issei. We need to talk to you, I would say seriously. Ikaros also had his serious face regarding the situation. Professor. He saw Issei and understood that it was not a normal talk, so they seriously went to a place where they could talk comfortably. Already being in the teacher's room where there was no one, well, there were some vampires spying on what was going to happen without thinking about what was coming. Professor. Very good, Issei-kun, what do you want to talk about? I ask seriously about the situation. Issei. I'll get to the point directly. I know that you are suppressing your magical power, so I was wondering why that is. Is he an enemy? Now our protagonist asks with a certain tone of arrogance. His teacher reacted with surprise at what was said, he recompassed his posture, and his look became more serious. How do you know that? I ask very seriously, since with his sealed powers he could be easily killed. Issei. A long story, but like you I have magical powers. Chris, the most powerful Masu Shoujo, would finally say his name with a confident tone and his smile. Ikaros. Was just surprised by the talk. Did Issei already know who he was? Or did he just want to bother a little? Sarahs and Yukinori were shocked at the name mentioned by Issei, since it belonged to the most powerful Masu Shoujo, and which the elders fear the most. On the other hand, her teacher was surprised and shocked since he knew her true identity. It was as if Issei had known her for a long time. Chris. What? How do you know my real name? And above all, who am I? He would ask mortally. He never thought the situation would happen. Issei. As I told you a moment ago, it is a long story, so I will show you a little. I would say calmly to invoke the infinity gauntlet in his right hand, and with the mind gem, give him a small vision of his past. Chris was totally amazed at what she saw and the power she felt at that moment. Then she remembered a long time ago she felt that same power, but she didn't know where it came from. Now she knew where. Sarahs. What is that strange glove next to those shiny gems, you might ask? Just as he had felt enormous power and his body did not react, his sister Yuki was in the same state. Sarahs. This is what the elders were looking for. She exclaimed in her mind, but unfortunately no one could carry an infinity stone other than Issei in that dimension. Chris. She came out of her astonishment and stared at Issei, totally serious. So do you want me to help you with your plans? She asked. She would mortally be. Issei. That's right, once I erase the universe completely, I will create a new one full of life. Sarahs. What did he say? She exclaimed, totally surprised, and when she saw her sister she also saw that she was pale. Chris. And will that affect this dimension? Was his next question. Issei. No, this dimension will not affect only mine, but what are you saying, will you help me? I would say this with a confident tone. Chris. From what I saw, you have good reasons, but I have a condition for you. She would say in hopes of breaking her curse. Issei. Very good, what is your condition? He asked in a proud tone while she gave a light smile. Chris. Free me from my curse. And a lot of alcohol. If you do that I will be under your orders, she would say hopefully, and from what she saw, Issei really wasn't a bad person, but things happen for a reason. Issei. His smile widened, but a drop of sweat appeared on the back of his neck at Chris's last request. She is undoubtedly an alcoholic, he would say in his mind. Very well, then I will remove your curse, he would say. He was touching Chris's head, and suddenly a great shine dazzled everyone, and then they saw a loli with long pink hair with a ponytail, royal blue eyes. She was dressed in a white dress and a bottle of wine in her hands. Chris. When she reacted she went to a mirror and was totally surprised and shocked, while tears began to come out of her eyes. I'm finally free again, she would say happily. Chris is back. She exclaimed completely happily. Sarahs and Yukinori were in shock and paler. That magical power was really amazing. Not only them, but the magical beings around the world would be shocked. Ikaros. Only kept her astonishment, she never noticed that. The Queen of Viri would remain static and pale. Chris has recovered his powers. Redeed with great attributes, and an H-content mangaka was surprised, but then gave a satisfactory smile, even though she was one of the most powerful in the underworld. The Uma residence. Seraphim Haruna. That power, they would say with total amazement. You. He showed his notebook with the following text, Chris has recovered his powers. I certainly left them amazed. Somewhere else. I sensei. Ara that Chris regained his powers, I would say a little sad. But the imprisoned magical girl began to laugh like crazy. Issei. Very well, we have a deal, Chris, I would say, putting on a satisfactory and confident smile. What events are coming soon? That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.